Hello, everybody. This is Words of Sorrow bringing you a new Halo Wars 2 tier list. This time we're going to cover every single leader power available to every single leader. And I'm actually not alone. I have my good friend, what some may call my son, with me, Mighty Hopes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So, we've got an F tier this time, because there are some very bad leader powers. And I guess we'll get started going in just this random order in which they've been laid out. We're going to start with the Retriever Sentinel. I think it belongs in A, because it is very good, but it's expensive, both on the cost-wise and population-wise. And just the way Anders is played, it seems like with R&D, it's really nice to be able to just abuse it and upgrade everything, but when you're saving up for Retriever Sentinel, it makes it a lot harder to do that. So, I mean, it both synergizes with Anders and it doesn't at the same time because of that fact that you have R&D, so it makes it easier to save up, but at the same time, if you didn't have to save up, you could abuse R&D better. But as a unit, it's very good. It's like a Condor with a shield that actually hits what it shoots at. But what do you think about it, Mighty? Where do you think it belongs?
A tier is pretty good. Shit has the ability to go up a tier depending on the terrain of the map.
Yeah, like on Rift behind
Yeah.
the person's
Bedrock
base.
in the back.
Well, on
Rift
Bedrock,
on
I feel like that's different because if they're banished, they can just jump Reavers up there. But on Rift, with that terrain that they can't get up there, they need like a watchtower in order to even see you.
Yeah, it's really exploitable.
But yeah,
Frontier.
Well,
I don't know.
yeah, it's good on
Yeah.
Frontier because the healing spires, but as an overall Anders map, it's pretty awful. So, yeah, you kind of do have to take context into consideration. But I think A tier is good because it's definitely a game ender. It's very annoying to play against because of just the amount of anti-air units it can eat. It's either you have enough or you don't have enough, because even if it survives on just a tiny HP bar, it can just get its shield back and continue to destroy your base. So definitely a very good leader power, although later on it is a waste of pop. But even in late game, it's nice to just be able to repop instantly with it, even if it doesn't last very long. So the next one we're going to go to is Kodiak Drop, aka Vehicle Drop. That's Forge's fourth point, and I think it's pretty good as well. I'm thinking A or even S tier. Because like it's expensive, but you're Forge, you have rolling eco. It synergizes well with like the Forge Hog. You can drop mines to defend it.
It's so strong for when you get it. Like,
yeah,
it's one of the. It's one of the tools that makes Forge like half decent as like a UNSC versus Banished.
Definitely, it synergizes well with like flamers or snipers. Its cooldown is surprisingly low as well. Kodiaks as a unit are already pretty good, and having Vet on them is insane. So, I don't know. Yeah. I'd say. You think S?
If you're gonna put Retriever at A, that's gotta go S.
Yeah, I think for what you get, I'd say it deserved S. Yeah. Combat Repair is next. I think that's another one I would put in S because
any passive heal.
It's like Boundless Siphon, except for everything. Boundless Siphon does affect turrets, but it doesn't actually affect like your supply pads or your main base. Combat Repair is just broken. It makes so many matchups unwinnable. Like Pavium versus Colony. Have you ever tried to Rain of Fire 3 a Colony base? You put 3 points into Rain of Fire, and then you use it on a base that has 1 leader point affecting it, and it does absolutely nothing. Like it's broken.
I remember when Likely Squidward used to play like a ton of Consano, and his like go-to was just infernoing your base because it'd blow up your base.
Yeah.
And like an effective counter to that was just picking Colony because you couldn't kill the base with Inferno if you had CR. So
He'd also complain about Johnson. Johnson gets free buildings, so he counters Consano, which was always funny. It's not exactly how that works, but
Combat
yeah.
Repair's OP.
It's not even that worse of a heal than Boundless Siphon either. And sure, Boundless Siphon is buggy,
active.
and sometimes like it'll heal outside of combat. With Combat Repair, it's always going. So I'd say it's better than Boundless Siphon, even though Siphon's also broken. Next is Infused Vortex, which is an interesting one. I'd say like B or C. Because
Infused Vortex, that's word is Gutex, right?
Yeah. It's really good while Cataclysm is active, but otherwise, like I guess you could use it to set up an Invig, but it leaves you so vulnerable to like a beam or any other leader powers because it just takes so long to cast. And all you're doing
really
is
slow.
spreading goo. It's pretty slow,
It'd be pretty good if it spread as fast as Vortex does, but
yeah,
you're only covering a couple feet of the map, a couple.
So I'd say
couple inches of the map with that.
Because yeah, like I said, it's good for Cataclysm, but outside of when Cataclysm is active, I guess you can Maelstrom and use it. That's another use, but you're still leaving yourself pretty vulnerable to other leader powers. If it casted faster, I think I'd put it in B, but I think C is fair. Next is Infusion Tech. I think that's probably another C. What do you think, Mighty? I think it's debatably B.
Yeah. C.
Because like the main effects that you're going for with Infusion Tech are the Scorch Wraith and then the Blisterbacks spreading goo. But that's
Blisterbacks are pretty good.
2 points to get there. And the Blisterbacks are definitely good, but you're never going to be building mass Blisterbacks in a high-level game, really. Like, it's good to have 2 or 3. Yeah. And it's also nice to get the damage buff on the goo, but really, it's not the kind of leader power you're going to be getting anywhere near early or even mid-game, because you just have better options.
Yeah, it's super not. I'd get Infused Mine before I get it.
Yeah.
Not really is. It's not essential.
Alright, and then we have Flame Hog Drop, which I'd say B or A. Leaning towards A, because when you think about 4th points, like, there are not that many that are that, like, immediately rewarding to drop in. Like, the units themselves aren't that good, but they have
Kodiak
vet.
Drop.
No, Flame Hog Drop.
Spirit Sport. No, you said 4th points.
Yeah. They have vet. If you have Redline, they'll have Redline that makes them super fast, good for harassing. It gives you a stun, which you can combo with Consano Y ability. I just think there's a lot of utility, especially if you're going infantry and the other person's spamming ranger, and then you drop in Flame Hogs. That's super good. It just synergizes really well with that,
It's a stun too.
yeah, the point in the game you're going to be at is really strong, I think. I think A.
Yeah. A.
Next is Hollow Decoy, which I'm kind of thinking B. Maybe even A because of how
B.
fast it comes back.
It does come back fast as fuck.
And
Yeah,
whether or not you
Hollow
have,
Decoy is underrated, dude.
yeah, whether or not you have detect, your units are still gonna be like shooting at the decoys unless you micro them to not, which is really annoying. And then early on in the game where you don't have detect, you basically just like can't engage because you don't know what's real and what's not.
Cheap comes back fast too. Comes back really
Yeah.
fast.
I mean, I'm leaning towards A, but I think B is also a good spot for it because,
It's Isabel
like,
at the end of the day.
outside of early on when you don't have detect, you can still counteract it with good micro because later on you're always going to have detect.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Next is Methane Party. I think that is probably B or A as well. Because it's
Yeah, Methane
basically
Party's
like
good.
just putting methane on everything in a pretty big radius. It also does some good damage.
It's like a
And, like,
debuffing scatter bomb.
yeah, it's not quite as damaging as Scatter Bomb, but it's more expensive. Um, Bigger radius, though. And, of course, the debuff. So that goes very well with Beam. Yap can upgrade his beam all the way to level 3. So, like, Methane Party, level 3 beam is going to wipe just about anything. I don't think it would even care about heal heavy metal. So,
Mm-mm.
but for its cost, and I'm pretty sure it has a pretty high cooldown. I think B is probably a good place to put it. Next is
Happy.
Grenadier Drop. I think
Oh,
A or
OP.
S.
S.
Probably S. Like, Kinsano has Hell Drop, which is kind of like a UNSC version, but it's nowhere near as good because a Grenadier is just way better. You spread goo. Um, it spreads more goo when it dies, does an insane amount of damage to infantry when it blows up on them. It's just the perfect early
It has so
leader
much
power.
impact. It has so much impact on the first, like right when you get that for a second point. Like if you get your mini stolen and they're trying to build choppers and jump peg routes from it, you can't beat choppers out in a scout fight. So
Yeah. I mean, part
like
of what
especially if you're
makes
UNSC.
the Vortis Grunt Rush really good is when you're playing against a Banished, you go over there, you have your grunts attacking the gen. They're going to try and build Suies. You just drop the Grenadier Drop right in front of their base, and it'll just kill every single Sui that comes out. And
Yeah.
your grunts are just free to attack the gen.
They
Outside of
really
that, it's
they
even
really just
better.
kill everything.
Yeah, better against
Mm.
scouts than Hell Drop as well. Because while Hell Drop has a stun and Grenadier doesn't, the goo is so good against vehicles. You can
Vortis
use
is
it
OP.
to like set up small invigs. Like if you're under attack, you can save your gen with a Gren Drop invig. Just a whole lot of utility. Its usefulness doesn't really wear off throughout the game either. So I think that's
Ever.
an easy S tier.
Remember the
Mm,
days when you used to drop them on bases and shoot buildings with them?
yeah, gotta use combat spoils. I mean,
Exactly.
it made more sense then because Grenadiers didn't have their buff. So if you
Yeah.
were to drop
They
them on
sucked.
infantry, it wasn't like as good. They used to lose to elite enforcers, which was funny.
Yeah, they used to suck. Nobody
um,
asked for those things to get buffed. Oh wait.
no, I can tell you the way I was asking Vortis to get buffed, which I no longer agree with. But when I was playing Vortis, I said what I wanted was, I think I wanted infusion tech swapped with teleport or something. It was something weird. So that you could, yeah, I think I wanted to have a Cataclysm buff put in Infusion Tech 2, and then move it and teleport so you couldn't have Infusion Tech 2 and Kata by 5th point. Because my complaint was that
Yeah, because
Vortis late game is
after the first
bad
kata, he was just bad. Yeah.
because Cataclysm doesn't kill units that have global upgrades. Plus, on top of that, like every leader has a heal almost. And then there was something else. Oh wait, no, I did want Grenadiers buffed, but I wanted them buffed against heroes particularly, because that was another issue with Vortis. You'd just not be able to kill a
Couldn't
good
kill
hero, and it
heroes.
would get vet up and solo everything. But yeah, obviously, I think those changes would have been way too much because the small incremental changes that he got, and also the fact that every other leader was kind of debuffed along a long period of time, kind of made it so that Vortis was all of a sudden realized to be ridiculous. Um, but also back in the day, I think people weren't quite as good at exploiting combat spoils. A lot of stuff goes into how good Vortis is, but Grenadier Drop is a big part of that. But
Hmm.
moving on, Hunter's brand. I think
Um,
it's like C.
C, because depending on the situation, you might take Goliath Drop, and there's just like when you look at all the other third points there are
Yeah,
for
I mean,
damage, it's kind of a little bit underwhelming.
yeah, it's not as good as Beam. It's more
Or
consistent than Beam, but even if you land it, which you should be able to land it, it's not going to do that much damage. Um, its best use is against buildings, I think. You should always, pretty much always, go Goliath Drop over Brand on 3rd point. But if you don't build the Hunter Captain, sometimes you can take Brand over Teleport so that you can like drop in Goliath Drop and then brand 2 pads, finish them quickly, and then move on to like the next pad. That's like the best use for it. Um, it would be
it's
nice if it was
alright,
better
definitely
against
C.
units, but I don't think I don't think Colony needs to be any better than he already is, honestly. So Spirit Assault is next. Now this is Assault, not Support. So it's the Suicide Grunt drop that Trox and Desi get.
Trash as fuck.
I think it's D or even F. I'd say D because at least once you upgrade it, I think you get like a Vet 3 Jump Pack Brute or something. Which, especially if you're Desi and you have Dark Skies, you could probably just stack that and then like go Vortex a fully upgraded base with like 4 of them and kill it ridiculously quickly. But outside of that usage, it's very niche because like Beam is almost always better. Like sometimes you can do, if there's a whole lot of clumped up infantry, you can drop it in and then vortex. And if you get a really good vortex, it can clear them all out. But Beam is almost always better. Same with Trox. So pretty simple. D. And next is the best offense. That
Um,
gives shields to Nightingales and uh Scorpions. I think it's A.
yeah, that's a need for Isabel's kit. You can't play Isabel without it.
Yeah, I mean, it just makes your tank so good. Not only does it give the tank shields, which are admittedly kind of small, it also buffs the canister shell. And that's what really makes her tanks insane. Plus the fact that she gets accelerated assembly too, so she can just spam them out super easily. But it's really the best offense that makes them so unstoppable. Even
I
outside of
think it's
tanks,
I think it's pretty good.
the
Yeah,
Gales
it's really
having the
good.
shields, like Gales as a unit are very important, but they're pretty fragile and they're pretty expensive as well. So having shields on them helps a lot. So I think it's pretty straightforward. A tier, doesn't cost you anything. It's a passive. It's nice, really nice to have, especially because late game UNSC is typically just like swapping between tanks and vultures, and it makes that swap into tanks so much more powerful. And next is the infamous glassing beam. I would say it's B or A. I don't know which one, because it's got a pretty decent cooldown time. It's not expensive, but it definitely matters in the situation. Sometimes you'll beam in like a really good spot and you'll wipe like so many units, and sometimes you'll just have to do like a desperation beam and then they split
It's kind of
out,
a game
or
of chance
you eat a
because you
leader
could use a
power.
beam. Yeah. Yeah. Because you could throw a beam down and then it just gets splitted on and it's like the most useless fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
Or even sometimes you'll throw down a beam, they'll split, then they'll throw a leader power on you and you're super fucked. But if you just happen to catch your opponent and not paying attention, it could like
Yeah.
just be game ending.
The Yoda beam.
Yeah.
So I'd say it's B because it's not the most consistent leader power in the world, but when you get a good one, it can end the game for sure. Anyway, we move on to the first, maybe only F tier, and that is remote sensors. I believe it's third point. Why would you ever take that third point? Honestly, why would you ever take it until any point except the last point you unlock? Because it literally just gives your buildings more vision. Like I don't get it.
Next
It
leader
would
power.
it would make sense if like maybe it gave like mech units detect or something. Like your hero, Mantis, Cyclops, Colossus. So that way you would never have to worry about like having Gales with you, but it's just so bad. It's almost pointless. It might as well be pointless. But yeah, not much to say about that one. Engineer Swarm is next, and that's a pretty good heal. I'd say it's not as good as like restoration drones because it doesn't heal everything in its radius. It'll heal like it's kind of random what it heals. Whatever the engineers decide to focus on. A lot of the time, you'll put it down on like your hero and a bunch of grunts or something, and it'll heal the grunts instead of the hero, and then you'll lose the hunter captain. So that's super annoying. And put it in B, because it's definitely useful. And it's second
Yeah,
point.
it's not better than res drones, but it it looks better than it actually is because it's a colony leader power.
Yeah, I'd say B. It's got a lot of use, but it's a little more inconsistent than res drones. Next is Killing Frenzy, which is an interesting one. I know back in the day, people would always go back and forth whether or not you should go Active Siphon or Killing Frenzy. I typically go Killing Frenzy. I don't know if it's A or B though, because like when you've got a massive Rangers or something against a bunch of infantry, they'll just tear through them so fast. They'll all be proccing Killing Frenzy and they're just going insane.
Killing Frenzy is pretty good.
I'd say, I mean, it's the first point, although you never get it first point because you want Vortex. So really the only thing it has to compete with is Active Siphon.
I always go Frenzy on all my Decimus days.
Active Siphon is useful, but I think
It's just
Killing
really
Frenzy
expensive.
is more useful because, yeah, early on, Siphon is kind of expensive. Its radius isn't that big, and it's an active, whereas Killing Frenzy is a passive that's always being affected. So I'd say A tier.
Yeah.
Next is Napalm Missiles, which I don't know if I want to put in C or D. Because if we're talking about, like, your third point, you're never going to get this on your third point as Kinsano. Because it's
It's a D
garbage.
tier.
But
A D
once
tier.
it's...
I'm going Redline 2 before that. I'm going Hell Drop 2 before that. I'm
I don't know if
getting all
I'd
my
go Hell Drop
drops.
2 before it. I don't think I would. But once it's level 3, though, it's super good. But I can see it being D tier. Because it's just like... It's solely relegated to the late game. Because it's only useful once you get level 3. Once it's there, it's definitely really good, but that's about all it's good for. So, next, we have Burnout. I'm thinking B or A, because I'd say the reason it should be A is because the first few minutes of the game, it lets you get out so many units. Pavium can win games solely on like opening triple chopper and hunting down every single one of your starting units. But as for like the eco boost it gives you, it's definitely not as good as it used to be. I think going Burnout 2 is the way with Pavium instead of 3. You can double back for 3 later, but honestly, Pavium late game is so bad. I mean, he's good on defense, but if you ever try to push out late game, it's impossible. So Burnout definitely helps, but like going level 3, I don't really do that anymore. Back when it was busted, you would do it every single game, but now I like
Yeah.
going for like Rain of Fire, and then on 4th I can get Enduring Will so that Lich doesn't die immediately to like 2 anti-air turrets. I'd say B. I think it fits in B.
Was A is now B.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say it used to be S because it was insane.
Yeah.
It would literally cover your entire base. It was just insane.
Nobody could keep up with that pump
Yeah.
that you're getting from that.
So, next is ODST Assault Group, which I believe gives you a Vet 2 ODST, Vet 2 Cyclops. Is the
That
tank
Wolf.
Vet? I think the tank is Vet. I think the Wolf is Vet. I think it gives you 2 Cyclops. So it's pretty good. It's normally used to like augment a big push, and it gives you enough stuff where you're going to be able to counter most stuff that the enemy's going to have. Certainly at 5th point, it's nice to have a tank. The Cyclops aren't the most useful units, but because they're Vet 2, I can look past that.
It's all counters, and it's a stun, and it comes back pretty fast, I feel like, for a 5th.
I'd say A. I think it's A, because that's a pretty big power spike. It's more affordable than something like the Retriever. It gives you a stun. It's just a lot of utility.
It's only 1,600 supply.
Yeah, and you get a lot for what you pay, so I'd say A. Next is Boundless Siphon. The infamous
Yes.
Boundless Siphon. It's A or S, and I'm kind of conflicted.
S tier.
You think S tier? Why do you think S tier?
It's so good with everything. It's so good to where it can, like, your whole entire game plan as Decimus could be making grunts.
And just rushing to 4th point.
It could really let you just commit to a spam of, like, any one unit, and then just, like, when you're playing Decimus and you're spamming that one unit, it's going to be so strong to where the enemy needs to, like, because of Boundless Siphon, the enemy needs to, like, commit to completely countering that unit.
Yeah.
And then it just makes the counteract play off that just, like, so good.
Yeah, people will literally just spam grunts and then go straight into Banshee from that. and it'll work because you need to go dispersion nozzles against the grunts.
Or Mass Ranger, and then you're slow, can't shoot air,
Yeah.
and then they take into Banshees, and air is unironically like OP at that point. So
Yeah, there's also it glitching and siphoning outside of combat. There's the fact that it applies to the Warlord and Decimus drop. And yeah, it's just I guess S. I think it makes sense at S. Next is Grunt Dome, which is another one that I think could be A or S. I think it's definitely probably A, because I don't think it's as impactful as Kodiak Drop, Combat Repair, Grenadier Drop, or Siphon.
it's
But
engagement changing though for sure.
Yeah, like you can negate any nuke. Level 1 will go down pretty quickly, given the circumstances. Like, if they have a bunch of counter units, obviously it's gonna be really good. But if they have stuff that actually does damage to buildings, then it'll go down pretty quickly. Scales very well into the late game. Once you get level 3, its cooldown is actually lower than level 1 and level 2, because this game is balanced. You can do stuff like use your unit drop and then Grunt Dome to just be able to strip a base with impunity. I think it belongs in A. Its cooldown is kind of long, but as long as you use it wisely, it definitely has the power to change a game in just one use.
Yeah, it's A, but it definitely fills the max potential of the A tier. Like,
next is Power Surge. I'm thinking D for Power Surge, because this is like the last thing you get as Arby normally. Because as Arbiter, you always want something to proc Conduit, and this is the one leader power, besides Phantoms, I guess, that doesn't proc Conduit. And yeah, it means that, sure, you're going to have more Conduit because your leader powers are coming back faster, but I don't know at what point it's worth it to go that instead of just another proc. But it seems like it's always taken very late in the game, so
you want to take a proc over it any day. Once you have all your procs, you can take it. It doesn't make it that useful. And by the time you have all your procs, you're almost always gonna have a conduit up between your hero and leader powers. So
yeah, it's just kind of irrelevant. So next is Mega Turret, which is an interesting one. Because if you're planning on turtling, these things are essential. And Pavian has one of the best turtles in the game, maybe the best, because of Mega Turrets. Literally, you just go Mega Turret Reaver, and that's about all you need. Because Mega Turrets are going to clean up everything on the ground with their Tech 3 upgrades. They are weak, though. They are expensive.
You can't really do that in any high-level game and get away with it, too. Takes a building slot.
They're pretty much only relevant in turtles. Like, maybe if you're on Mirage and you have the middle mini, you can throw up 2 Mega Turrets, but even then, that's going to be like, that's going to be past 5th point for sure. Because you're never going to get Mega Turret before that point and not be memeing. So I'm thinking either C or D. I'm thinking C because, sure, turtles aren't really a thing in tournaments, but most games are not tournament games. If you're just playing like a ladder game and you get Bedrock, like, you basically can't lose as Pavium if you get the turtle set up. But of course you can't win either, because Mega Turrets can't sprout legs and go attack the enemy base.
Yeah.
So I think C is a good spot. Then there's Field Promotion. Another kind of weird one, because it's kind of hard to bunch up your units enough to where it's worth using it, because it's like, isn't it like 800, 800? It's pretty expensive.
It's expensive, and there's better leader powers for when you get that.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's
later
nice.
on, it's pretty good for like a vulture army.
Yeah, vultures especially. I think it
At least I'm really only a
synergizes
vulture army, but
synergizes well with Jerome because you get a bunch of vet vultures, and then you have Omega Team. You just hijack all of their anti-air, just and then you just nuke everything else. So it's useful in that circumstance, but it's kind of niche. It's kind of expensive. It's hard to glob up your units enough to like be able to vet a bunch of them. It's probably another C, average. Nothing special really. Next is Archer Missiles. It's a B or an A. I'm thinking more B.
it's B. It's good at what it does. It has good building damage. It's good on armies when stunned. It's the only reason why I wouldn't put it at A is because it's not the best. Like you're gonna go ODST.
Yeah, you're always
Just the
gonna go
fact that
ODST before Archer Missiles.
yeah.
It's good against buildings, but I don't know. There are definitely way better fourth points, even though it's a third point. You're never going to take it third point. So it's kind of competing against more difficult competition. Like, would you rather have Boundless Siphon or Archer Missiles? Obviously, Boundless Siphon. Flame Hog Drop or Archer Missiles? Flame Hog Drop. Um, so yeah, I'd put it in B, I guess. It's pretty good though. It's just that you're always going to take ODST over it. Next is Redline. I think it's a weird one
It's a good
because
passive. It's B tier.
it's like Redline 2 is really good, but you have to invest 2 points, and you never want to do that early on because you need
Yeah.
a stun with Kinsano. You don't have
You
a
need your
Spartan
stuns
Slam.
and
You
drops to
yeah,
harass.
you always need your Flame Drop on 4th. You either take Hell Drop, Turret Drop, or both. Um, but if you're going like Marine, if you're going CT especially, you need to take Redline because of the CT Redline glitch. Um, and Redline 2 is definitely really good. I honestly think that Kinsano Kodiaks are very underutilized because of Redline. Like, those things are insane. You can leapfrog them so well because you pick them up and they're so fast. They're like, it's honestly comical to see a Kodiak move that fast. So, and you can get it second point. It's definitely very strong for second point. The question is, do you want Hell Drop second point and then Redline third, or do you want Redline second point and then like Turret Drop third? A lot of the time, it feels a lot more safe to go Hell Drop because since if they're gonna go Armory fifth and they execute it well, their hero is coming out at like the 2-minute 40-second mark, and your only hope of killing that hero is with a stun. So typically, if you go Redline, it's third, especially because like your Tech 2 units, your CT upgrade is going to be coming out around the time you have third point. So it just does well there instead of second. So I guess B. I think B.
B.
Definitely like a high B, but still B. Next up is Plasma Bolt. I'm
Mm.
thinking it's a bit of a meme. You always see like the bad RB players like
It's not good for damage. If you're out there somewhere playing Arbiter and you're taking Plasma Bolt for damage, you're wrong.
yeah.
It's a proc.
It's nice in certain niche scenarios, like against Cutter, where you want to use Plasma Bolt on ODST mines. It can stop like a Spartan Slam ODST mine combo. But that's nothing that Stasis can't do. It's more immediate, and it does damage, but the damage is honestly laughable until you have 3. And once you have 3, it definitely does good damage, but it's still kind of hard to land, even with how fast it comes down. I'd put it either D or C. Like, whether or not it's good, it's still a conduit proc, and it's cheap, and it comes back quickly. So because of that, I'd put it in C rather than D.
Vulnerable also kind of fucks itself over by having 3 of it, and it has to be constantly like you have to drop all 3 of them instead of being able to just have 3 separate procs.
Yeah, you don't want to space them out because that just gives them time to leader power you while you can't control your units.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's a
next is
proc.
Goliath Drop, which I'm thinking A or maybe even S.
That shit's really good.
It's like,
Goliaths are strong. That's good harassment right there. If you don't predict that, you could end up losing all your mini bases.
yeah, Goliath Drop drops you Goliaths, which are already a broken unit. It scales pretty well because later on you can get the Rage upgrade, which is insane. People kind of overlook that. It's going to have combat repair on it, synergizes well with both heal and brand.
It's a third point.
It's a third
Good
point.
cooldown.
Like, it's super strong for third point. It goes really well with skits, with choppers, with a hero. Yeah, I think it's S tier, honestly.
It's the most punishing leader point, if not prepared for it.
Yeah, it'll strip you very quickly. So yeah, S. I'd say it's not like a super high S, but still an S.
It's a low S, just because all the other S's are ridiculous
Insane.
leader powers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at Grenadier Drop, basically one Grenadier Drop can counter Goliath Drop.
Yeah.
And it's second point. But still very good. And next is Lotus Minds, which I'm thinking A.
Yeah, all mines can kind of just be thrown into A. They're cost effective. They're never bad.
Yeah.
The mines are just the most.
I'm basically lumping in all UNSC mines into Lotus Minds because, like, Inspire Mines, Cryo Mines, whatever other mines are still pretty much the same thing. But some
almost all
leaders,
UNSCs have stun.
Yeah, some leaders get Lotus Mine 2, some get 1. Doesn't make that big of a difference because you're only going to upgrade them super late. But even super late, they're still useful because of just the ridiculous amount of damage. They have a low cooldown, low cost. Like, the amount of scenarios they're useful in, that just like basically any scenario. Like, you have a Spartan, you can Spartan slam with them. You have turret drop, you can combo it with any stun. If they're fast taking to hogs or something, you just scatter them around the map whenever they're off cooldown in choke points, and you're probably going to catch a bunch of hogs. It's just so easy to destroy a bunch of units with such a cheap leader power.
And it makes those infantry versus scout early fights more bearable for the infantry player.
So
the ground user.
Yeah, I'd say A. Because sometimes there's a leader power you think you'd rather have other than mines. Like, I think it's a really close call with Forge, whether or not you want to go mines or rolling eco 2. Because, like, you save a lot of power with that. And while mines are cool, it's like, you never know. It's kind of inconsistent. You never know if you're going to pay off.
Raid too. But that's like,
yeah.
I guess it just lies on preference.
Yeah, sometimes there are better
options. I really think you can't skip raid 2.
With Anders, I honestly go Lotus Mines third a lot of the time, sometimes second, and then double back for R&D if I get like a Banished who stole my mini and I'm scared of a rush. But I think it's better than Arc Defense for sure. And Turret Drop, it's better than situationally. Like, if there's a hero I really need to kill, Turret Drop's good for the stun, but otherwise, just being able to wipe people with Mine Spartan Slam is just so good, especially against infantry. It's just a very cost-effective leader power. But on to another pretty bad, but growing on me leader power is the Protector Sentinel. Recently, I've kind of been messing around with Protector Sentinels, and yes, they are bad. But you would be surprised sometimes with them. Like, you don't even need the Tech 3 upgrade. Yes, that is where they shine in the late game. But if you can get Air Level 2 and their upgrade and synergy, they can still be pretty good because of that stun. I think it's a 4-second stun. There is a really annoying wind-up time, which can be annoying because the Sentinels are paper thin, and sometimes they die before they can even get it off. But
OP
I
late
don't
game,
know.
though.
Yeah, they're OP late game for sure. They're like a better Hornet, basically. But outside of late game, they're super niche. Against anyone going Hog, it's bad because the moment they sprinkle in any Wolf, like Wolf Hog just decimates them.
Need to be built off a base, too. That's not
Yeah,
really ideal.
typically a Banished can just spam Reaver and then build a hero and then supplement leader powers and be fine against them. It can be nice because you force a bunch of anti-air and then you go into Kodiak, but it's kind of tough to do. It's definitely tough to do. And it hurts me, but I have to put it in D, I think. Because, yeah, sure, like, there can be instances where they're good, but other than that, it's really just late game. And they're just so paper thin. They require another leader point synergy to be useful at all. It just requires so much setup that I think D. But next is Enduring Salvo. And we still have quite a few leader powers to go. This is going to take a while. Salvo, it's kind of like the most vanilla of all nukes, I think.
Yeah, Salvo's... It's alright.
Like, it's useful if you're getting beamed. You throw that on them, they have to cancel their beam. It inspires you, which is nice.
Too, but
Yeah.
you always have your Jerome hero. So you already should be under the influence.
Sometimes Mastodon is better, especially with the Jerome speed nerf. It's nice to go Mastodon so that you can put him in a Mastodon and then he's not like slowing it down your army. Because you can't always have the Mantis on the field. A lot of the time, it's the best thing to do to send your Mantis to die so that you can get it off cooldown and drop it on them again. So, I don't know. It's probably a C or a B. I'd say, I don't know, it does a good amount of damage for sure. Without a stun, it's kind of hard to land. I'd put it like C, but kind of more near the top, I think. So, yeah, I think pretty simple. Next is Vehicle Symbiotes. I think this one is one of Colony's worst leader powers. The area of effect is pretty small. I'm pretty sure it's also, isn't it like armor and range or something weird like that?
Yeah, the range is, the radius of it is super small, and it's just not something you're gonna really ever take outside of like a turtle late situation.
You can use it on your buildings, but that's pretty much always going to be used just in a turtle.
Unless you're Exo Kaboom, you're not taking this leader power, honestly.
Yeah. Dev Host gives you vehicle symbiotes anyway. I think it's a D. Next is Ghost in the Machine. I think that's a pretty slept on leader power.
It's really good.
It's like, it's so
especially
good
when
against
you're
so
like
many leaders.
late and you're in that tank fight where Isabel's probably already crushing it, and then you jack half their tanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that shit's fucked up.
Like, against Anders, you Ghost the Machine, there's Sentinel. Against Forge, whenever you heal heavy metal, they're going to try and heal heavy metal, and then you Ghost the Machine them because all their stuff is clumped, and you just win.
It's crazy in a base trade, too.
Honestly, it might be S. I mean, the cooldown is long, and it's expensive, but it's kind of broken when you think about it. I don't know, though, because it's a 5th point, and there are definitely a lot of 5th points that it has to contend with. I think it's one of the better ones. If it's not S, then it's definitely a high A. What do you
I'd put
think?
it in high A. I want
High
to put it
A.
in S.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like S goes more to like OP passives or like ridiculous first points.
Yeah, definitely not something you want to sleep on, though. If you have your units clumped up, you can lose very quickly to Isabel.
You think a lot about Isabel's leader powers. You're like, damn, they're really good, and then Isabel still sucks. It's kind of funny.
Isabel really doesn't suck, though.
Not
I think
yeah, not suck, but just not
it just
like
takes a long
where
time
you'd
to get
think
going.
she would be. Yeah.
Next is Seismic Blast. I'm thinking
Trash.
it's kind of, I don't know, I'm split because you need cryo and you need
I don't know
level
who
2
at 343
for both
thought
of them.
making a 3-point nuke into 2 different points was a good idea, but
Yeah.
that shit's stupid.
I mean, it's
Serena fucking blows.
it's actually good once you have 4 leader points invested into that. But just 4 leader points, that's a lot.
A lot for what a beam could do.
Yeah. Like, take Cryoseismic level 2, and then take, 4 random leader powers. Let's say, Combat Salvage, Rolling Eco, Pelican, and EMP Mac Blast. I think I would rather take 4 random leader powers than Cryoseismic 2. So I think D is where we'll end up putting both Seismic and Cryo. Because, they're good once you have it, but it's just kind of not worth it, really.
It's too much. Too much. Especially when your opponent's gaining on those leader points.
Yeah.
You're not. It really puts you behind.
It's really hard to justify it when you can get heal third and have a Bison. When, the Bison's heal rate is insane. You're going to need a heal on it because it's such an important unit. And then also you have your turret drop on 4th, which has an insane freeze radius and a stun. So I don't think you can really justify getting it early either. And then 5th point, you have your drop, which is also a shatter. So why get Seismic? Yeah. D. Next is Orbital Designator. Where do you think that goes?
D.
I don't know.
F.
I think it's I think it's higher because number Orbdes 1 is pretty useless. However, Orbdes 2 is insane. It's cheap, it comes back in every single engagement you have. It slows things down, it makes them take more damage. It's kind of insane. The only thing that's stopping me from putting it really high is the fact that you're never going to get it before Lich, and after Lich, Pavium kind of falls apart. And even Orb Des 2, which you have to put 2 points into, is not going to save you at that point. So I'm putting it in C.
Low C. Don't be saying no crazy shit, because then you're gonna have people running around the ladder, orbital designating people on some weirdo shit.
I mean, you can go Burnout 1 or Des Rain
You're
of
like, what the
Fire.
fuck? Did this guy just orbital designate me?
Yeah. You can do some meme stuff with it, but yeah, it's honestly not that bad. I think people write it off too quickly. Next is Omega Team. Kind of situational. It can be hard to afford. Leon kind of sucks. Their hijacks fail a lot of the time for some reason. However, it counters Grizzly Battalion completely. Counters a lot of things completely. Just having 4 Spartans is very good.
Oh man,
Synergizes with Vultures so well.
I'm trying to think of one tournament where someone dropped a battalion and then just got it completely jacked and resigned. I can't remember what match that was.
I'm sure that happened at one point. The shitty thing is, you don't really have the luxury of getting that 5th point a lot of the time. Jerome typically is going to be on the back foot. You used to just be able to crutch your hero. You still can, but it's even more difficult because of positioning, how slow the hero is. I don't think you're going to be able to afford it on 5th point most of the time. Even then, just having it being able to hijack anti-air and then just spamming vultures is super good. But I don't know. B? I'm thinking B. Because as 5th points go, I don't think it's that good. But it still definitely has a lasting effect. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I think B is a good spot. Then we have Pelican. This is... I think it's a D. And not because of how it works in theory, but because of how it works in practice. You're going to have all the noobs saying, Pelican is so good. It's like teleport, except cheaper, and it comes back faster, and it has more of a range to it. But
if I'm getting leader powered, I'm not going to Pelican out. It's
not instant. It glitches
good
out
for cheesy shit.
all the time. Like, if you're trying to get your guys out of a bad situation, they're gonna get pulled out of the Pelican so much because of how glitchy it is. I feel like it's gotten worse recently. And honestly, that's the best use for Pelican, which is shitty. Because, you don't want a Pelican into a situation. You want a Pelican out to save what you can. Whereas you can Pelican in, get caught in a bad situation, and not have a way out. And then that way out decides it wants to glitch out and not work. It just sucks, I think.
Yeah. It's alright for Johnson, moving mantises across the map.
Yeah, but like I said, you want to use it as escape, and it glitches out very often. So, D. Scatter Bomb. Is that A or S? I think A.
It's A. It used to be S when it used to break your fucking game.
I mean, it still kind of does.
A little bit. I don't think it does as much damage anymore. Does it? Still do?
I think it
was
does.
Was the damage ever nerfed?
It probably
was.
The
damage was nerfed a little bit.
I think the damage was nerfed, and the casting time or whatever, the amount of time that the telegraph shows up was reduced for some stupid reason.
Yeah.
But honestly, whenever
they just messed with things.
Yeah.
They just got in the lab and said, let me just, I have to do something.
They just took a hammer to it, hit it a couple times.
Fucking idiots, but yeah.
Yeah, whenever I think of a nuke, Scatter Bomb is the first thing that comes to mind. Because that will rock your world if you get caught in that. Everything will die. So I don't think it's as good as S tier leader powers, but it can definitely
And
decide a game.
it's not as game breaking as it used to be. Like you used to just see, oh, this Forge player, oh, here's this Forge Hog, and then it would just anvil scatter you, and that'd be the end of your match right there.
Yeah. But definitely still can end games. I think it's just a bit more hard to land, but you can still get lagged by it and get completely wiped. So still very good.
Mm-hmm.
Next is fortifications. It seems like fortifications is either like a really meh point, or you go Fort 1 and Fort 2 and it's really good, and you span bases and it's really annoying. The thing is, a lot of the time, it's hard to pass up mines. It's hard to pass up dying breath.
Plasma mines are so good.
Yeah.
Plasma mines are so good. I feel like people have gotten a lot better at punishing. Like, at the high level, people's early game has gotten so, like, punishing that it's hard to get away with, like, fort expansion builds.
Yeah.
Back in the day when people play more, like, primitively with their early game, it was pretty good, but...
Yeah, I don't think Fort 1 Expo builds are that good anymore because of how good people are with rushes, with mini stealing, that kind of thing. Fort 2 is still very good, and even if you just get Fort 1, still the amount of power that you save with fortify upgrades with it is pretty good. So even if you just get Fort 1, it's still decent. Not great, but decent. So I'm thinking B. I think B is a good spot for it.
I'd say high C. But then I guess not, because later on, like when you grab it, your turrets are dirt cheap.
Yeah, I'm
Fort
looking
3
at
is actually really good.
I'm looking at everything in C, and I'm pretty sure I'd rather have fortifications.
Yeah. And B. What's the next one?
Deci Drop. That's an S, I think.
A. S.
Yeah, I'm thinking S.
S because it doesn't have a cooldown. It starts
It's
on
just
cooldown the second you
it's a
drop it.
massive free nuke that happens to
10
also
population's way too little for that dude.
Yeah, 10 pop for a fat guy dropping from the sky, then dropping an ERAD on you that you can't dodge, and then he siphons in and out
only
of combat.
1,000.
He can ping pong your scarab with a warlord.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's not balanced at all. I
agree. Your Desla drop at S.
Yeah, we call him the Korisasu. He is very obviously broken.
Yeah, fucking busted ass bitch.
But next is Mech Overcharge, which is if Mantises were a better unit, it would be really good. And it affects more than Mantis. It affects your hero, Cyclops, and Colossus. And a lot of the time with Colossus, it's good to use that for the speed, go in and like stomp them. But let's be honest, how many times have you done that with Johnson? Because
I'm probably just gonna teleport away when you do Mech Overcharge anyway, so.
Yeah, also the fact that Johnson like rarely has enough to make it work. Like
yeah. I'm gonna teleport away when you Mech Overcharge, and if it's in Unsc mirror, you're probably trying to chase me around, and I'm not too worried about your
Yeah, you can exploit the mobility.
Mm-hmm.
Mantis are just such a lackluster unit. Like, if this was for Marines or something, imagine if Cutter had a Marine overcharge. How insane that would be. You could just, like, negate every single nuke. Like, the only weakness of infantry, pretty much. The fact that they get nuked. Like, if Mantises were a better unit, this would be a better leader power. But I'm thinking it's C. Like a very run-of-the-mill kind of like, take it or leave it kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's probably C. Yeah, buff man. I don't know what about the Mantis they should buff, because
No, I don't think they
I
should
don't.
buff Mantis. I think they need to remove remote sensors and give Johnson accelerated assembly.
Mm-hmm.
It would make the Mantis easier to afford.
What are they? 320?
Like 325, I think.
Yeah, it's way too expensive for something that's not even better than a hog.
And you have to upgrade them with a 400 power upgrade to make them even usable.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Just throw Johnson's whole kit in the D tier, honestly.
Yeah. Honestly, you can see why Johnson's so bad. Pelican D, Mech Overcharge C, Remote Sensors F.
Everything except salvage. Fucking.
Emp Mac isn't bad, but we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Next is Extraction. I think B?
Yeah, B.
Because it heals 4 of your pads. You can avoid nukes, get your honor guard, save your honor guard from death, to vet him up
Save
super
your spirit
easily.
support.
Save your spirit support from a beam or something. So it makes ship hard to rush. It makes his units hard to kill. It's not as good
My
as
only beef with it
teleport,
is
really.
I always go raid and teleport, so I never grab extract. But that's just me.
Yeah, I think you're in a very small minority. Most people go raid and extract. But
Really,
I mean,
I go
yeah,
raid and teleport. So I'd rather have teleport.
Teleport is really only good once you have teleport 2 and you're teleporting locusts around, because otherwise the distance is bad. And extract also dodges nukes. The only downside is that they're then out of the fight.
Yeah, that's. Yeah. Yeah, no, I'm not the best ship player.
Yeah. So it's definitely good. I just don't think it's quite good enough to be A because of the fact that your units aren't going to be back in the fight for any time soon. But yeah, next, digging in deep. Definitely
Just, we don't even gotta talk about this one. Just throw it somewhere.
the worst 5th point in the game, I think, easily. Like, think about it. What is the point in free buildings in a game that has infinite resources?
I thought digging in deep was the turret heal.
No, that's digging in.
Oh, what the fuck? Alright.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
free buildings, who gives a fuck?
people are like,
Fucking
oh yeah,
stupid.
Johnson gets really strong, his eco gets really good because you just start spamming bases and you start building generators. Why do you
No,
think
he gets really
Johnson?
strong because Colossus.
Why do you think Johnson at the 5th point mark is going to be able to do that? Every other leader has a better 5th point, like a drop or something better that's going to pay off immediately. Whereas Johnson, who is going to be in the corner probably because he's bad, can't even really exploit his free buildings. And even then, it takes a while to pay off. And once you're super late game, it doesn't matter at all. You might as well not have it, because both of you are going to have endless wells of resources anyway. So I'm going to throw it in D, I think. Like, on paper, it might sound good, but no. Next is Cyclops Drop, aka Diego. He's,
I think it's pretty good.
against, like, vehicle spam, it's good. It's a stun, although it's hard to land. The thing is, I know this is something that, was it Rock or Mike who said it? You can build a Cyclops, but you can't build an Archer missile. Something like that.
Yeah.
And it's very true. Although it's different because, like, obviously you can't build a Vet 2 Cyclops. But Archer missiles
Usually when I'm grabbing Cyclops drop, it's actually like kind of a I feel like you only go that when you really need it. Like it can be life saving sometimes, but like in a game where I'm ahead, I'm never grabbing Cyclops Drop to like
Um,
further.
well, I
Usually,
mean, when they're
usually it's like
spamming vehicle, it's definitely good. But you can still wipe vehicles with like a Spartan Slam or ODST and then an Archer Missiles. So,
well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like usually you don't usually get like when you're against hog spam, you're not fighting them head on. It's usually they're like fucking with your base. So then you drop the Vet 2 Cyclops, and that's really good on defense because they usually have to run from that. But like,
I think it should be like a low B because I
yeah,
think it's better than like Infused Vortex or Hunter's Brand or Field Promotion Plasma Bolt. But
imagine
it's
just a Hunter 2 drop.
that, yeah, that
Just
would be kind of crazy. Although it's I'd still rather have like a Raid 2 Cyclops because it's
hmm
so much faster.
got
But
sneakers on.
yeah, imagine if Colony had a Hunter drop. Like instead of the stupid guilt trip. That would be so, and then you could just skid it up. God, that would be so dumb.
guilt, guilt trip.
Yeah, we'll get the guilt trip. Anyway, Inferno. Inferno is like super
Literally sets your
scary.
base on fire.
Yeah. It's scary, and then later on in the game, it's like, does nothing. Because you have Fort, you have a heal, and it's like, yeah, nah. And really, even if you're like thinking about it, you're playing well, you can keep like a chopper held position at your base so that whenever Consono comes along and tries to flame wall Inferno your base, you ram it, and then you have a heal, you just heal your base. And normally that can save it, but I'd say
The
that's a
late game
misplay.
power.
It's a
I
misplay
feel
if
like
you're using
it's.
Inferno like that. You need to have an army when you use it so that you can finish off the pads. And when it's used like that, I think it's probably B or A.
I
I
feel
don't
like
know.
it's too ineffective for how late you get it. No,
Yeah, I mean,
because you always go battle group
yeah,
over Inferno, right? Like
yeah,
almost
and then
every
you
time.
go
That's
Inferno
and then
6.
you really. I go into Redline.
No,
Like I feel like you. That's when you want to
no.
start building Redline because
Inferno
you
is
have all your
way,
drops.
way better than Redline 6th point. Because, like, you're gonna have your drops, you're gonna have your hero. That's the perfect time to push a base and Inferno it. I'd say the only reason it wouldn't be A tier is because it doesn't scale that well. Even then, I think it probably late game you could just use against armies with all your stuns.
Oh, that's true.
But
What theory are you putting it in?
I don't know. Um, I think
B.
B. I think B.
And B next.
Next is Mass Stasis. I think it's an A, honestly.
Uh,
I think
uh,
P2 a
yeah.
while ago said something pretty smart. Um, when he broke Burke's Pavium Turtle on Sentry, was that you're
Whatever two.
always only one good mass stasis away from losing the game. Because your entire army just can't move. And then what
Yeah.
do? You can't save your base. There's like a bunch of locusts or a bunch of phantoms or something killing your base, and you literally can't do anything. And the radius is so big you can't dodge it. And it comes down so quickly you can't teleport it.
Yeah. Could really get fucked in that ass if you get stasis real well.
Yeah. So I think it's an A. Stasis just as a concept in this game is pretty broken. Not to mention it also triggers conduit, which is another broken meter power.
Fucking alien technology.
Yeah. Next is Surprise Party. Now, it used to be
OP.
insane, and it still has a very weirdly large detonation radius. But I don't think it's A. I think it's more B. I
High
think
B,
I'd
high B.
I think I'd rather have Lotus Minds, because the leaders where you have Lotus Minds, you have stuns. Whereas Yap, like back when you had the Shade Turret stuns, definitely this was like S tier. But you don't have that. So I think it's a B.
Get fucked, yeah, players.
Also,
God, dude, he used to be so broken. Oh my god.
it
The
used to
fucking
just
mine
be
would blow
like,
everything up. The Grunt Riders had splash damage.
you remember the
Just
Mike versus Liam
fuck.
screenshot where Mike lost?
Yeah.
It's like, that's how bad it was. Mike could lose to Liam because of one mine. That's how stupid it was, and it was so easy to use. But yeah, without the stuns, and it's definitely eaten a couple nerfs through the years.
Yeah.
I think it's B now. Definitely still very good, but not like busted like it was. Next is Synergy. This is a weird one because
Synergy?
yeah, it's like
Like,
if you're going Retriever 5th, you have to get it 4th. But it doesn't do anything for you in the meantime.
yeah, you can't go Sentinel without the shield.
Yeah.
It's
also
made of glass. It'll get its ass kicked by like a Reaver.
And if you go Beacon 4th, you typically want to go Synergy 5th because it gives your Kodiaks another Sentinel. So
it's kind of a need for Anders.
Yeah, it's super.
Whether you're gonna
crucial.
go for a Kodiak play, you're gonna need it, or if you're gonna go for a Sentinel play,
I mean,
you're
it
gonna need
sucks
it both ways.
and it's great at the same time, which is weird because, like, the payoff is, it's like digging in deep. The payoff is definitely not immediate, but I think it's way better than digging in deep. I think it's like B, because
it's really not something that. I mean, I guess Anders would be pretty broken, but imagine if like the units just came with the synergy, like
yeah, like you could go
more sense.
Yeah, you could go Beacon Kodiaks and then drop in your Retriever at 5th with the shield. That would be stupid.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's very necessary for Anders. It hurts sometimes to get because it's like, this doesn't really do anything for me at the time, but the payoff is so big that it's worth it. Next is Restoration Drones, which I think is probably another B. I think it's better than NG Swarm, but it's still kind of meh. Because, I don't know, when you're UNSC, your units aren't that important. Like, you're just spamming them and sending them around. Like with hogs. And I think it's nice to...
You don't ever really want to, like, be stationary and just, like, well, it's just weird. I don't know.
Yeah,
most I don't get res drones often. It's usually to save a base.
Yeah, most leaders are not going to get this unless they need to save their base or expo. Or you're Forge or Izzy and you want to go heal heavy metal. But, yeah. I mean, it's nice to have, but it's pretty much
self-explanatory.
Late game.
It's a heal. It's not too great. It's not too bad. There's better heals in the game.
Next is Infused Mine. I think that's an A.
Infused Mine slept on. Like,
the goo.
It's pretty.
Lasts forever.
Forever. It's glitched.
It comes back like, so fast. Like,
it looks like a little nuclear bomb when it explodes too. It's just fucking everything dies and there's just goo everywhere. But you need combat spoils. That's the reason. And
then you drop it again, basically. So getting nodes against Infused Mine is like impossible.
Oh yeah, that cooldown's fucking crazy. Fucking gnarly.
I think, honestly, do you think Stasis Minds should be S tier? I think Stasis Minds might be the best mines. Because you just drop them on the enemy, they instantly detonate, and it's like you just took a couple units out of combat, and it's a proc.
Take units out the fight.
and it comes back so fast.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Stasis Mine, probably the best mine.
I think it's the best mine. I don't know if it's worthy of S. I think probably A, but a high.
Those
It's
the
just
max potential for a fucking mine though. Like
yeah,
they're really good.
like you can take a hero out of the fight for a good duration of the game with Stasis Minds while giving yourself a conduit proc. Just kind of stupid concept. Anyway, we finally made it to Guilt Trip. F. Yeah. Like,
Next.
yeah.
Next.
I think we can just leave it at that. Guilt Trip is bad.
Read the description of leader power.
Heat of Battle, I think, probably goes where Killing Frenzy went. Where did we put that
wherever
in
Killing
A.
Frenzy is. Yeah, just put it there. Same thing. Same fucking thing.
It's the same thing.
Unsc leader units are.
I think it's
not
a
as
little
good as
different.
Units.
Does it give you a speed buff?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then it's also an armor buff. So it's actually, I think it's better than Killing Frenzy. Because Killing Frenzy is like speed and damage. And then Heat of Battle is
That's
like
just crazy on snipers.
speed,
In
damage,
team games,
and
if
armor.
anyone watches high level 2s, you see Kasano with snipers. That sniper.
Yeah, and whenever
you take a couple hits,
fighting like choppers, if they try to ram you while Heat of Battle is procced, it doesn't do anything. It's funny. It's like a little tink. Doesn't do anything.
It's like crashing your car into a wall.
Pretty much. Next is Accelerated Assembly. I think with Isabel, this is mandatory. With Forge, it's like, eh.
Yeah,
with Forge
it's whatever, because,
your eco's
I
insane
always take
anyway.
it as Isabel, dude. I always take it as Isabel, and I don't know. I don't know, like, all the math and shit like that, but it seems really good to me. Well, I know every now and then I'll hear Metaloid, and he's like, yeah, it's just, never grab that.
No. If that's what he used to say, he's changed his tune, because he'll be like, late game with Forge, you just want to spam hogs, and because Assembly makes it so good. And then with Izzy, he's like, yeah, with Izzy, you always want to go Accelerated Assembly too, so that you can have the cheap tanks. Which I agree with, because
I said that for so long, dude.
Because with the hogs, it does suck. Because it's like you put 2 points into it, it's like, oh, I'm saving 50 supplies per hog, amazing. But then you get the tanks that are buffed and cost 430 supply. Literally cheaper than Wraiths and way better than Wraiths. The issue is that that's more of like an Izzy thing. It's good because it's Izzy, and it does well with the other leader powers. With Forge, it's not so good. Kind of odd where to place it.
Oh, Roku just invited me.
I think it's B. I'm gonna put it in B. Maybe like a higher B, but yeah. Stasis is next. I'm thinking Stasis is an A. Because it's like Stasis Minds, except I'd say it's a little bit more hard to land, but it still comes down very quickly. It's a proc, and it's a stasis, so obviously just the mechanic is broken. Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. We've been over stasis. It's very good. Next is R&D, which is kind of what Anders is centered around. Anders is centered around R&D, abusing Douglas, for Siege, and the Retriever Sentinel. And R&D is definitely a very strong pillar in those 4. Definitely not as good as it used to be. Still very useful. I still go R&D 1 and 2, like 95% of my games. That said, when I think about it, I look at all these A tiers, And I'm thinking it doesn't really belong in A. I think it belongs in B. Because R&D 1 is like not that good. You definitely want R&D 2. And that's 2 leader points, making it pretty expensive. I think it's worth it, but overall fits better into B than A. Next is Glacial Storm, which is B probably. A lot of the time you see people use it on bases, and then it like gets off one freeze and that's it. I think that's a pretty shitty way to use it. If you use it on a base, you also want your Bison locked down on it. That's when you'll really freeze their eco. But if you use it on an army, like your units are just going to be frozen there for a good amount of time. It's kind of stupid. But yeah, I'd honestly put it in B. Because it's cheap, it doesn't come back that fast, but it can be pretty useful on armies. I think it's kind of slept on. Lich is next, and this is a good leader power, but don't hold me to that, because whenever I'm playing Pavium and my Lich dies to 2 turrets, I'm going to start raging. And that does happen. If you just have 2 anti-air turrets, the Lich just dies. That's why I always go Enduring Will 4th. That's a lesson I had to learn the hard way. I mean, it can be good and it can be bad. Sometimes it just shoots at turrets or unimportant units, and sometimes it mains down their base and you just win. But either way, it's definitely an integral part of Pavium's kit. And without it, he'd be garbage, because past your first Lich, Pavium falls off so hard. So, I honestly think it's an A. You have to be smart, you have to use it well, and it has its weaknesses, but used correctly, it just ends the game right there. So I'm going to put it in A. Next is Please Don't Shoot Me. Now, Please Don't Shoot Me is very annoying because you can, like, someone uses Unbreakable, you Please Don't Shoot Me, and, like, you've just basically just wasted a bunch of resources. You Inferno, you can Please Don't Shoot Me, and, like, heal your base, stop them from hitting you. You can Please Don't Shoot Me while you shield juggle or something. It's just kind of a stupid mechanic. I think it belongs in A, because yeah, while you're not going to get it early on, it really doesn't matter, because it just is so important. It's not as good as teleport. Like, if you're out of position, obviously you can't just teleport, but I mean, it has other uses that are just as good, so I think it belongs in A. Next is Unsc Raid. I'm thinking A, even though you have to put 2 points into it most of the time. Just those Raid CT Marines, oh, they're like little ants running all around the battlefield, pulling you apart, forcing you to go deal with them, and then they just run away. It's like the core part of what makes Cutter so good. Besides his Spartan and his drops, which are also important, but the amount of harassment potential, it's insane. Next is Arc Defense. I think it's a C. It's just like you use it and then they leave kind of thing. It's also kind of expensive for what it is. It makes infantry like shoot up at them. But if you use it on a hero, the hero can shoot at them and then get vet off of the Sentinels, which is really stupid. It's also good against vehicles, but I think it's the worst option for third point as Anders, because it's just like turret drop gives you a stun, doesn't cost power, mines are more cost effective, come back faster. So it's just like meh, pretty much. Here's an easy S. Combat spoils. I mean, what do I have to say about it? Whenever you attack, you get money. That happens to be very good. Whether it be just like a single unit sitting there at a mini base siphoning you money, or even if you have your units in a big bunch. Whenever you roll up to a mini base, your opponent just has to sack that mini base. And you don't even really have to take the time to clear it, because if they don't sack it, well, you're getting paid, so you're fine either way. It's just, if you get into a good spot with Vortex, it's very hard to lose because of this. And it's easy to get yourself in a good spot because of it in the first place. Pretty self-explanatory, easy to abuse. It's a passive, and just the concept of it is pretty broken. Next is Grizzly Battalion. I think it's A. 3 vet Grizzlies are very strong. The only reason I wouldn't put it in S is because it's expensive. Yeah, Forge has a good eco, so he can afford expensive. But they're also kind of susceptible to a lot of leader powers. Like, if they get displaced, they're super slow. They can get beamed. One beam can kill one Grizzly most of the time, and that's a big loss. Like, those things, you need to keep them alive, because that's an expensive leader point, and those are very important units. That said, they're important for a reason. They're important because they're really good. And, like, if you're spamming Flamer, it just synergizes really well with that. So, very good, kind of self-explanatory leader point right there. Next is Combat Salvage. Good leader point, very expensive. However, having your units respawn once they die, who doesn't want that? I think that's another A. Late game, it's very hard to contend with. And basically, the only way to beat it, I'd say, is to do like a runaround strategy with Locusts or something like that. Because if you take a head-on fight and you trade armies, they're getting their army back. And you're not. And then they just push and you die. So it's really strong. Another pretty easy one to explain. Next is Frost Raven, which is a little more weird. It's... I don't know. Like, once they get their upgrade, and once you have a good amount of them, their freeze rate is pretty insane. However, getting to that point is pretty hard. I'm thinking C. Like a high C? But the thing is, you're not going to be getting this early on, because you need Cryotech Advancements. Sometimes you could get it third, I guess. They're good against choppers, but the moment they see Cryo Troopers, they're going to start building grunts. And then you can't deal with that until you have a mass of them. And you have to build them out of your main. And so you need to be able to double pump them, which means you need another base. And it's just kind of like, doesn't end up working out a lot of the time. That said, I think they're kind of slept on. So a high C, but still a C. Next is Maelstrom. Now it's OP in teams because of all of the combinations you can do. However, in ones, it's definitely still good, but there's counterplays like teleport, like heal heavy metal. But the fact that you can bait out a teleport or a heal heavy metal using Maelstrom, like Maelstrom's Scorch, is really good. And then if they burn like a teleport or a heal heavy metal, then you just hit them with a Cataclysm, and they can't do anything about it. So I think it's an A. Definitely very good. Spirit Support. Ooh. A or S even. Because not only do you get those really good units that you can save easily with Extract if they're in trouble, you also get the Spirit, which shooting at a building does a good amount of damage. Like, you don't normally want to fight the spirit support under the spirit because of the DPS it adds. I think it's S, honestly. Like, it's expensive, but it comes back fast enough where you can stack it, and that's when it starts getting very scary. Its usefulness never really ends, because while sure, late game you might not need a ranger and a hunter, having 2 vet NGs is very good. So, yeah, I mean, there's not many situations where a spirit support isn't really scary to be up against. So, S tier. Next is the Wraith Invader. It's kind of a weird one, because you'd think that these are really good, because Mastodons are pretty good, and these have shields and a siphon. That said, I think it's... don't think it's D, but close to a D. Very close to a D. These things are expensive. Like, Pavium going infantry is kind of weird. Like, you can do infantry Pavium, but you either want to spam Ranger and take the map, or spam like JPB and do a harass kind of thing. And I don't think the invaders synergize with that well. You'd need like grunts and hunters and put everything under the sun under them, and then it's just a very odd thing to put in Pavium's kit. I don't think it fits that well. It's funny to have Pavium chauffeured around in a limo, and you can vet him up pretty quickly in there, but like I said, his late game just isn't good. And the Wraith Invader, there's never a good time to build them. Whenever you see people going invaders, you're getting memed most of the time, unfortunately. It would be cool if they're better, and they sound great on paper, but in practice, they just don't fit, I think. Next is Tactical Gateway. Tactical Gateway can bite you in the ass, but it can also end games. You can outmaneuver people. Sometimes you'll use a Tactical Gateway, and you'll be like, oh, no, I need to get out of here, and then they follow you through and they kill you. Sometimes they follow you through and you have a beam and you can just wipe them. Sometimes you use it and they're out of position and you just win. So it's inconsistent, and it's not great that you need vision to use it, but most of the time that doesn't matter that much. Looking at the leader powers I have in these tiers, I think it belongs in A. I think just the positioning, especially with locusts, like, you need it with locusts because of how slow they are. It works really well, I think, with the rest of ship's kit. It would be cool if the advanced cloaking affected locust, but that's unfortunate. We'll talk about that leader power later. I think Conduit of Rage S, maybe? I'm gonna put it in S. It's just like always affecting once you have enough leader powers, of course, but like, you use your leader powers effectively, like, smart play is rewarded so well with Arbiter and this leader power. You can't really go wrong. It's just whenever you use a leader power, there's Conduit, and it buffs you a lot. Yeah, just as a concept, very good. S tier, I think. Makes his ghosts very hard to deal with. It makes his ghosts like one of the scariest Tech 1 armies to go against. On Enforcers, it's really good. I just think it's kind of broken.
Bomb. This one sends static.
We're starting. Sorry about that. I had to take a break. I don't know why field promotion is here. We already did that. Next is turret drop. Just the generic UNSC turret drop. We're not distinguishing the victory turret or the freeze turret or anything like that, just turret drop. Normally like a third or fourth point. It's third for Kinsano. I think fourth for like drone cutter, I think.
Leader power sucks.
No, it's
C tier.
Cutter gets it fourth, I believe.
yeah. Also, Ugly and Proud has joined.
Yes, hello.
C tier. Leader
I
power
don't.
sucks.
I don't think it's C tier. I think it's probably B because it's a.
I was gonna
stun.
say I think it's a solid B, and it's a stun. Drop it on anything combat with mines with like Cutter and Anders, right? So
Yeah,
you're right.
stun's always
S
gonna
tier.
be always gonna be good.
Stunning a
Union.
hero can be the difference between winning a game and losing a game. So I mean, it can't be C. I get that it's not great, but it's a stun. So
Yeah. And then,
Unsc turrets are actually broken.
yeah, with just the stock.
You can just drop one
probably,
in the middle of the battlefield.
It's probably B.
I think that's pretty ridiculous.
yeah, imagine if you could upgrade it.
You could upgrade it right there.
That would be.
That'd
Just make
actually
it permanent.
be nasty.
Permanent Unsc turret just sitting there.
Yeah, why isn't it?
That'd actually
permanent?
be so nasty.
Should be. But anyway, next is Vortex Lightning. That's like probably an
It's like
A.
I was gonna say if there was an A+, I'd put it there, but
Yeah.
say
Vortex Lightning.
like a high A. I mean, I don't think this really
A.
needs a whole lot of discussion, right?
That shit's A tier.
Stuns.
That shit never runs out of usefulness ever.
Right. Like it stuns, does area damage, a lot of it at that does
Debuffs.
building damage, right? Like it
I
makes
think it's the only active that you get, like super early game, that you just stays all the way relevant all the way to the end.
It kills
Right.
mines, it kills ODST
Right.
essentials,
right.
kill heroes with it.
I mean,
Anyway,
at that
Full
point, it kind
salvage.
of sounds almost like S. If it's useful the whole game,
I mean, yeah, kind of. Maybe it does deserve S because I don't. The only thing that's making me think is its cooldown is kind of longish.
Sure.
But I mean, it's literally
Yeah.
just like debuff stun thing that you control that also kills stuff. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe it is S. I'd say it probably deserves S. It's just so useful. I'll put it in S. But yeah, full salvage is next. That is
That's
Pavion. Pavion
bit of a
heal.
roughie. Bit of a roughie.
I mean, you can like do the shield stuff.
right.
Shield juggle for free and all
You
that.
still juggle with it, and you can sack buildings, right, when they're about to,
Yeah.
like, say you're base trading, and they're about to kill your base. You can sack all the pads and keep all that money, right?
Get a
But-
full refund, yeah.
Yeah,
But like
but
the
outside
actual
of that,
heal is garbage.
right? It's like half of that of
Combat
repair. I'm pretty sure.
So
It's pretty terrible.
niche.
Yeah.
Probably C.
Yeah.
'Cause
I was
it
gonna say
has
D.
its
What do
uses.
you have in D for reference?
D? Spirit Assault, Nepal Missiles, Power Surge, Sentinels, Symbiotes, Seismic Blast, Pelican, Digging in Deep, Get Back Out There.
I'd say it's in that tier, to be honest.
I don't know. In C, we have like Arc Defense, Frost Raven, Invaders, Siege Turret Drop. Like, it's still pretty bad stuff, just what I think is slightly better.
Right. I don't
I
know.
just
I think
I don't know. In base trades, it is actually like super useful.
that's fair. I want to be angry with a low C. I think it does have its use, but
I mean, I'd rather have that than
It's
2
very-
suicide grunts.
right.
Are we
But
talking
that's
about full
like-
savage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that shit's garbage. F tier.
No, it's not remote sensors and guilt trip. It's not that
Alright,
bad.
we're gonna move it to F tier, and then we're gonna put remote sensors in a tier of its own called the
Z
Void.
tier. Yeah.
The Void. Maybe I should make the Void. I'm just gonna leave it. I'm gonna say it's low C because it has its use. It's not that common of a use.
Yeah. That's fair.
Okay, close air support. It's kind of good, but watchtowers.
I don't know. I kind of think this power's sick, but I know I'm in the minority in that
I mean,
regard.
it can be
but...
like for breaking a shield,
Right.
for pushing a base that actually has units at it, because it will kill units. But if there's nothing else there, it just shoots at watchtowers.
I think it's like arguably the best 6-point power spike, but say you have big drop and close air support, and you're about to take an army fight. I think that's I think you push base with that, and that's really, and it's hard to really deal with that effectively, right?
You could say the same for network.
I also think that power is really sick, but
yeah,
for reference, where do you have that one at?
I haven't ranked it yet. I think it's right after this one.
Okay, that's funny. Yeah, I actually think both of those are pretty sick powers, though. But
I think
the thing with network is it does scale better later, whereas CAS, right, doesn't exactly scale.
It's also way more expensive.
Right.
And it doesn't scout the whole map.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna put it B because it's good for breaking like shielded bases. It's good for pushing a base. Like just generally, but I don't know. There are also a lot of uses where you just waste a bunch of supply and it doesn't really do anything.
That's fair.
But yeah, network. I think network is an A. Because it's kind of like the same idea, where it's really good for augmenting a push, but it's just more useful. It stuns vehicles, it explodes and does damage, it scouts the whole map, it's less expensive. It's just really good.
Agreed, for sure.
Turns like a super unthreatening push into like a really threatening one.
Yeah.
It has a long cooldown, but that's pretty much the only downside.
Yeah, I mean, it's an ult. I'd hope it has a long cooldown, right?
Yeah. Remember 4th Point Network? That was pogging.
Totally. 4th Point Network, baby. Holy.
Yeah, that'll balance, Anders.
So all the I don't remember if I've told you this or not, but for those who don't know, most of the buffs they've tried to put onto like the Sentinels, like the second point buildable ones, have applied to network as well. Because of some spaghetti coding. So basically all the times they've tried to buff Sentinels, they've buffed network as well.
That's pretty high brain. Pretty smart. Good codes.
Yeah, that's the 3-4-3 way, baby.
Yeah. Anyway, digging in. What do we think of digging in? Siphon turrets.
I think C, probably.
S tier. I love to build bases and put tower defense.
Yeah, it's really good for Bloons tower defense.
I really like this leader power.
Yeah, I mean, it's good if you go like level 2 and then you build turrets.
No, digging in goes in the void with guilt trip.
No, it's not that.
Void.
It's probably like
it's in the void.
D. I'd probably say D. It's like it also reduces cooldown for bunker and the cost, and also siege turret drop. The thing is, those aren't really good leader powers either. So, and to truly get the Siphon turrets to be OP, you have to put 2 points into it. That's just not worth it. So, yeah, I think it's D. Like, think of R&D.
I think that's fair.
You put 1 point into R&D, and not only do you get the upgrade stuff, you get shields on your turrets.
Right.
I would sell my whole leader wheel as Johnson for like 1,000 supply.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think D is fair. You could make an argument for low C if you value bunkers that much and value
Shadow Realm.
like the Siphon Turrets that much.
Yeah.
The game goes in the abyss.
Because it's still fine with 1 point, right? Like your turrets still will hold a push or like
A little
like
better,
a 1
yeah.
racks. Yeah,
You
a
don't
bit
get
better,
the discount, though.
Right. Yeah, I don't know why you don't. That's really weird.
Yeah.
But
But,
yeah, I think D is fine.
Next is
You could
Atriox's
push.
Bulwark. Do we think A or maybe even S? Because being to negate a whole
Not S
nuke.
tier. Not S tier.
I think it's like a high A, I'd say.
Yeah.
High A, low S, personally, for me, I think. Obviously, you know, being a healing power on its own is going to have insane value, right? And you
Most
couple
of the
that with the
time,
immunity.
The only pitfalls really are not being able to afford it or it being on a cooldown. So it's really not
Right.
it not being useful. It always has use, but like it might be on cooldown. Like it's annoying when the nuke of the enemy you're playing against has a lower cooldown than Bulwark because there's just this tiny window where you can get nuked. Sometimes
Right.
that happens.
Right.
But
Yeah,
yeah, really, it's super, super useful.
yeah.
Like how a scatter bomb can determine a game, a bulwark can determine a game because it can stop you from losing all your army, basically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think S. I think S is that probably.
I don't know. Like, I'm looking at everything in A, and I put Stasis in A, and Stasis is kind
A
of like the
tier.
same thing.
A tier.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
an active
Yeah.
heal.
Yeah, then A tier then if you have Stasis there. So I think Stasis.
Kind of the
I
same
think Stasis. Yeah, same deal except Stasis arguably scales
Next.
later.
deal. Yeah.
Next.
Okay. Fury.
S
Active
tier.
Fury.
Active Fury.
Oh boy. Oh
It's
boy.
tier.
kind of like. I mean, when you
Sorry.
think
Leader
about
power puts your monkey guys into a cannibalistic rage. They become so powerful that they kill themselves. You one shot everything you touch. You're not a good player if you're not getting Fury.
Yeah.
I don't know.
True.
Like, it's a meme, but at the same time, if you get a mini steel and you build like 3 JPB and you use Fury, you can knock down a gen so fast.
Yep. Really
The
good leader power. Goes in the abyss. Leader power sucks. Next.
I don't think it sucks. I don't think it goes in the abyss. I think it's not as good as Vortex or Killing Frenzy, but sometimes it's worth passing up Killing Frenzy for if you get the mini steel.
You put it above D, you're
you
trolling.
can erase a gen. No,
I think it's.
like a C.
I actually think you're trolling.
I don't
Put it
know.
above
I think
No.
it's like a. I think it's like a low C. That's just because I think it's good late game. Like not even late game. Like end game. Like 30 minutes plus. Like.
Yeah, like on your 18th leader point when you have active Siphon, so you don't kill yourself using it.
Yeah.
Well, the thing is,
Well,
when
you
you're
can
only
actually-
using it on like 3 jump pack brutes, they don't really matter as long as
No,
you get the
nobody
gen. They
does
pay
that.
for themselves.
Nobody does that.
Literally, Almirante
Nobody-
did that and won against XCA in a tournament.
Guy's a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, it worked though. So
Alright. You're right. S tier. Almirante used it. Great leader power. Can use it on jump pack brutes. Kill it generally fast.
I mean, have you ever seen Dark Skies Desi played? Because like Boundless Siphon on Dark Skies, then you also have Active Fury. Don't you think that sounds insane?
I don't know. I'll just build Banshees as Decimus.
Okay.
Alright, I'll start getting serious. You're seriously fucking trolling if you put that shit over like anywhere.
I just put it in C.
Mid C. Do you have like a picture of the
like
leader
low
power,
C.
and then you're like putting it in the tiers? Is that what?
It's just the it's like the names, not really pictures.
It's just the name. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think IQK I go for that, but I think late game or end game again, it has a place because if you have an NG, it actually reduces the self damage from it.
Well,
with the engineer Y, so
Fury engineers are like the best units in the game.
exactly.
Anyway.
So
Mastodons. Seems pretty situational. Like sometimes you want Salvo, especially against like beam leaders. But I don't know.
I put in S tier.
So good.
I put in S tier. I love to plant my Mastodons outside of bases and build Marines from them. They also have a little turret on them. I really love building elephants.
The elephants, yeah. Anyway.
Mastodons are kind of OP.
I don't know.
Like, if we're being serious.
They
Banished? Yeah, they kind of
I'm gonna be honest, I'm a Mastodon hater. I don't think they're that good.
I think every mobile garrison is stupid.
Their primary use nowadays, I think, is just like carrying around Jerome because he's so slow.
Right.
But also like dispersion mastodons against rangers, just so good. Or any kind of infantry player.
I think that's kind of the only time I think I'd ever use them is if I have a lot of stuff left over from Tech 1.
Yeah.
I have a Marine Flamer Ball I want to carry into Tech 2.
And
it's a small map. So I think if it's a big map, I'm just going to go Hogs instead. Still get CT and go the trash dump.
I'm thinking C.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's probably where I'd put it.
Okay, here's a controversial one. Scout Mine.
Blows up bases, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red bars
long
base.
ago.
Yep.
But yeah, you can do the Odeslo where you do the displace thing, but that's really the only use for it.
On the Scout Mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, aside from that, it's pretty garbage.
I was gonna say like D tier. I don't think there's really.
That's literally
it's like a normal. And it's like a mine that sees far.
Yeah.
And by far, like literally like marine range, like weapon range. So yeah, I don't know.
But you can scout with it. You can like go and drop it next to their base and see what they're building.
And see what they're building. That's right.
On like 2 pads.
And then they build a sensor tower.
Yeah.
Because you're shippy.
And it's literally 1 mine. Like everyone else drops 3, but no, just 1.
Just one.
Okay, countermeasures. That's probably a B.
I was gonna say. I think that's probably the most like B leader power in the game for me. I don't know. It's like
because it's nice if you're going jump pack routes, but otherwise it's useless pretty much. Like there's like the nodes, but yeah.
It's like part of why he's good on these smaller maps with JPBs and whatnot, but
yeah, like Frontier.
It's not like like Frontier. I mean, I wouldn't build JPBs on Mirage. I wouldn't spam them on Mirage really, but mostly Frontier. I mean, that's like the default Trox map, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's good, in those situations. It's pretty situational, but in the situation it's good in, it's pretty impressive, you know.
Yeah, it also apparently buffs the amount of damage the JPBs do when they like land on stuff, which is interesting.
Really?
I didn't know that.
I
But
didn't know
yeah,
that
I
either.
was looking through the patch notes of Metalloid's balance mod, and he was like, fixed the countermeasures thing or whatever. Apparently that's a thing. Don't know why, but it's nice, I guess.
Interesting. Yeah.
Banished Raid. Hmm.
I think it's kind of the same deal, kind of the same tier, but like for like the opposite reason. Like I think you go this in like every situation. It's not gonna be OP, you know. It's just it's solid.
Well, it makes your mini steals so good because not
Right.
only do
I
you
was
have
about to
elite
say,
runs that are quick, but you have more vision, so you get vision on the mini faster.
I guess maybe it's even A because you can change like you can change your timings in your mini
Is
faster
node
based off of it, right?
Node
Is
strat.
node shot not a thing?
And nodes.
Mhm.
I
guess
mean, it's a
are
thing,
we
but it's
considering it?
banned. It's banned in like all tournaments.
Right.
But
Really? Did that happen while I was gone?
yeah,
Yeah.
Oh,
So I mean,
that shit was cool.
you can also do it without Banished Raid. It just makes it easier.
right.
I
Right.
think B is fair
Yeah. I think that's fair. Yeah.
because you're gonna get it like every game, and it's definitely useful, but it's not like
It's not broken.
super useful. Yeah.
All right.
Now the next one is very broken. I think this is an easy S. Skitterers.
Oh yeah. Yep.
You
This is
just
probably why
put them on
this
every
is
unit.
like this is argue why Colony is so broken early. So
Yeah.
you just spam them.
Skit
You just be pumping
Chopper.
them the entire game. Like
Skit
literally,
Goliath.
I think.
Get the upgrade. Nearly double your DPS with the Skitterers. Skid
Right.
up Dev Host. Have Invincible Army. Massive
Right.
HP bars.
Like if you're only making 2 and throwing them on the hero, you're playing Colony wrong. Like
Yeah.
straight up.
Colony
Like
is literally
those-
just like Skit spam.
Just build, yeah, just early game. Just make Goliath, make little horses, you know, make
Yeah.
make the motorbikes, make the choppers, and put the little spiders on them.
Yep. The little spider guys.
Then mid game, you put them on your rangers. So
Put them on
They
your
can-
engineers. Put them on your reavers. Put them on your drops.
they threaten buildings and whatever they're countering as well. Yeah, it's
S tier.
I think you nailed it. Very, very easy S tier.
All right. How about Unbreakable? I don't think Unbreakable is that good because it seems like most leaders have a way to just like stasis you, please don't shoot me,
Right.
you teleport away, do something to just, and it's so expensive, and it doesn't even last that long.
I was gonna say, I think you could think of it like mass cloaking, but you know, no passive buffs, you know, no siphon, no speed boost on it, and
it's
less
way more
situational,
expensive.
but twice as expensive. Like I'm pretty sure it's a higher cooldown too. I want to say I could be wrong on that, but
Probably
Mass-
seems like it.
like mass cloaking feels at least like on a feel kind of level seems quicker, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. Probably C. I'd say it's just so expensive. Like honestly, if it wasn't so expensive, then it'd be decent.
Yeah, I mean, you
Right.
can use it to negate nukes. It's just a very expensive way of doing it, and you also have teleport.
Right.
So I'm thinking B or C. I feel like
I mean, you're right. I mean, think of how many leaders have ways of dealing with it. You know, you can teleport away you could displace, you could stasis, you could.
Yeah, but at least
Hell,
it
I mean, you could
has.
ghost in the machine it if you're playing
At
Izzy
least
for
it
some
has
reason.
like a place late game though. Like early on,
Right,
it's not good because you can't really afford it, but later on you can, and then it's probably
for
worth
sure.
it because if they're beaming you, you might as well because you have the money anyway.
Right.
So I think because
I
of
think it's
that,
like the one leader that can like really trade beams effectively with like Yap Yap and stuff.
yeah,
Because if you grunt domes, you rad those, and then you use trade beams, you press Unbreakable, and then trade a beam with him.
yeah, I think it stays above C because of that.
I think that's fair. Yeah.
Mac Blast though,
Ooh.
I think that's a C. I think it's good against infantry and buildings, but it has a huge cooldown, and it's garbage against everything else, and it has a big telegraph too.
Yeah, I used to like it a lot, but I mean, you compare it to every other nuke, right? And it's just not. I mean, you even compare it to EMP Mac, right? Like
Yeah,
Like-
EMP is better.
EMP is better in like almost every way because it still does damage to infantry buildings, but it stuns vehicles, does good damage to them, less wind up, buffs your own like mechanical units and whatnot. So
Yeah,
I think it's just worse in every way.
It's not D material, but only hardly above D.
Right. Like it's still like does okay damage at the end of the day, right? And it's still a nuke, right?
Yeah,
that you can
if you're
pull out in
playing
a
against
pinch,
infantry
but
and you do like a
Yeah.
slam Mac Blast, it doesn't matter if the telegraph's long because you have Alice to slam. And it'll
Right.
wipe infantry, but not
Mhm.
really do anything besides that.
And you can like somewhat counter drops with it, like how
Kind of.
you can kind of like if you catch like a dev host at the right time, you can erad it kind of deal,
Yeah,
but like not nearly to the same
to that
extent.
extent, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright then, do we think this one is an A or an S? Invigorating Frenzy.
Oh, this is S to me. To me, this is like top 3 leader points in the game. To be honest, like
It's definitely very good, yeah.
I think it's
And it comes
super
back
short
fast.
cooldown.
Yeah.
Yeah, super short cooldown. 20% speed buff, 8% damage buff. You make the hero, and it applies to your whole army, and then more because you can chase them with it. And it's up for like every single fight.
Yeah.
I think this is one of the reasons why Vori is fine later in the game, even without broken NGs, is because of this ability.
Yeah, we have like so many Vortis leader powers in S tier now. We've got Grenadier Drop, Combat Spoils, and Invig. And then Infused Mine is in A, even though normally you don't even get it.
Yeah, no, that ability's stupid. Fuse Mine 2 might be better, like a better nuke than Mac.
Probably, yeah.
Like it's unironically really, really good.
Mass Cloaking, I think, could be B, I think. Because if you catch them without detect, then you just kill their whole army.
Right, it's basically being immune, except you're faster than them, right?
And you have a slight Siphon.
And you have Siphon. Yeah. Yeah, I'm leaning like a high B, maybe A on this. Because I think it's sick.
Yeah, it's just that the problem is they're almost always going to have detect. If you kill it, then you can mass cloaking and kill the rest of the army.
Yeah, and then kill them.
Yeah, killing the detect can be an issue.
And then it does have a pretty... I mean, with RB, it will have a faster cooldown like later in the game because of... I think it's Power Surge, right?
Power Surge, yep.
Yeah. And then... fun fact, if you get a... Advanced Cloaking level 2, the passive.
Yeah.
it doubles the duration
Oh, it
of
does?
mass cloaking because it
Wow.
improves all the cloaking abilities. So I don't think that's ever really,
Yeah, no, I don't.
practical, right? But
Definitely never seen that
it's just
before.
funny, It's like it's rare that something's boosted by 100% and isn't like crazy OP.
OP, yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, well, here is Emp Mac Blast. I think that's probably a B. Like, it's nice, but once again, the issue with Johnson's kit is that it's buffing units that just aren't good.
Right.
And it's nice to be
Like
able to stun a bunch of vehicles, but primarily you want to use it like when your units are on top of theirs.
Yeah.
And then you use it on both of you, but just the amount of times that's going to happen isn't that often. Like, hogs are just going to run around you. Hunters you don't want to be standing on top of. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like in a vacuum, this ability is like kind of OP, but and even in teams, I'd say it's pretty good because then you can buff like
combos,
actual vehicles, right? But man, like Anises are just so garbage, dude.
Yeah.
Like you literally have two of the best like gas pedal or steroids like potentially in the game. It's a 30% damage boost with the Mac that stuns, and then you have invulnerability and a speed boost.
And it stuns for a long ass time too.
Right.
Like,
and
honestly, I think Johnson's matchup into Anders isn't that bad because you can just erase the retriever with the Emp Mac Blast.
Right. It's because it's affected at a different like value than other stuff. It's affected at 10 seconds. It's done for like that specifically. I don't know why, but yeah.
But because you're going to be using this with Mantis, it's just like,
Right.
Okay, so the next one is Cryotech Advancements. I think maybe an A, honestly.
I was gonna say A because this is kind of the reason Serena's like
playable,
solid, right? Yeah, like
you
get all the freeze nodes,
the OP watchtowers.
If you're fighting Banished, you just leave like a Marine on every node, and they can never cap them back.
Yeah,
like
the Cryo Trooper auras and shields. Like, you can't really not get Cryotech Advancements.
Exactly. It's as mandatory as Boundless Siphon, but you compare it to Boundless Siphon, and I think that keeps it out of S. I think it's still very, very good, right? But
yeah, if Cryo Troops were better, maybe it could be S. Like, if their upgrade did something, if it was as good as Dispersion.
Dude, I think that's the main thing that really holds Serena back, like mid game, is that Cryo Troops are just so bad.
You're basically just crutching
synergize. Right, the Marines synergize really well with the Bison because they can heal it, right? And then they kill air, which is the only thing that doesn't take 13 years to kill it. But yeah,
Cryo Troops just kind of suck tech too.
Yeah. What's that upgrade even do? It's like a range boost, right, or something?
I don't know. I think is it a freeze rate improvement?
Just I'd hope so, man. I would hope so.
Yeah, it's got a dumb name too. It's like a cryo sprayer, advanced cryo sprayer or something.
Yeah. Bad upgrade.
The next one is teleport. Could be S, honestly.
I was gonna say I think it's kind of S. I think this thing is.
It's pretty
good in almost every situation, right?
Yeah.
It saves your heroes, it saves your armies, it negates beams, lets you chase, lets you disengage.
Lets you teleport locusts around if you get teleport too.
Right. Like, mobility is always going to be, valuable.
Yeah.
And almost any video game. So yeah, I definitely
It's funny
say
how
this is
teleport
S.
is in S and Pelican is in D, but Pelican doesn't work like half the time.
Well, and you can't use it in half the
Combat.
scenarios. You can,
Yeah.
with teleport. Like you can't, you can't Peli out of a beam. Like
Yeah.
it's just so troll.
Imagine
Like,
trying to do that, just like bunching up all your units and trying to get into Pelican. Get in, get in! They're just all dying.
they're just dying. Yeah.
And then they don't even get in. The Pelican flies off without a single one of them.
If you move your units away, the Peli just lifts off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Okay, here's another S tier. Devastating Host.
Easy S. Is
The
this
most broken drop in the game.
I was about to say, do you think this is the best drop in the game? 'Cause
Yeah,
I
think
do.
so. I mean, it gives you
I think-
symbiotes, gives you a bunch of vet units. You can put skits on them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, God. Even though it's kind of vulnerable when it's being dropped, you also have teleport, so. And a heal.
Right.
And a
Right.
passive heal, too. It's just, it's insane.
As long as you're not stupid with it, then it's gonna get value.
Like, colonies,
Almost
5th and
guaranteed.
6th points. I think 6th point colony is easily the most scary leader at 6th point. Because you have Dev Host and you have Combat Repair.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, nothing beats that power spike.
You have Dev Host, Combat Repair. You're gonna have TP for whenever
Skits,
something gets
Goliath
low.
Drop.
Right.
Like, it's like the same category as Vortis, where you have all these S tier abilities. Vorti's got
Right.
Combat Spoils, Invig, Grenadier Drop, and then your colony, and you have Teleport, Skits, Dev Host, Goliath Drop. Like, it's not very fair.
Yeah, it's it's a little ridiculous. I mean,
Also,
you stack that up versus just compare that to like Johnny, right? Johnny's
Yeah.
gonna have,
free
slightly
buildings.
better turrets, a bunker that dies instantly, Emp Mac, which is okay, invulnerability on
A
mechs,
hero who is a
so they
walking
live
liability.
slightly longer. So they live slightly longer when they get taunted,
Yeah,
and then free buildings, I guess. Like,
pretty OP.
yeah. OP, dude.
That the
They
range
call my generators.
that the Vet 2 Locust gets from the worms.
Dude. It's insane. Like,
Yeah.
that thing is a blister back.
Basically.
That thing is a blister back that can kite. Like,
I think
that's just insane.
this next one might also be a slept on S tier. Dying Breath. High A or S,
Man.
maybe?
I'm a Dying Breath lover, but I know I'm biased because I think this ability is like super sick.
Pretty
Like-
OP. And
Like
it's
on a
second
fundamental
point.
level, right? Like this ability fundamentally breaks the game because of how unit targeting works.
Yeah.
So,
They'll just keep shooting at a unit that's dead.
right.
Yeah, I
So
think it's S tier. I know
I
lot of
think
people.
I think I can argue that's for sure.
A lot of people don't go Dying Breath second, but I really like going Fort first and then Dying Breath second.
I think that's fair, yeah.
A lot of people
I mean-
just get it late game, which is also useful then because
Which is also
obviously
very, very useful.
it's mostly useful for when you have a bunch of them. But
Right.
just
I mean,
as,
Trox Banshees are like a really good like transition for a reason, right? It's because of
Yeah.
that and the immunes,
and the fact that it lasts so long. I'm pretty sure like you can use it and then it'll be in effect for like 66% of its cooldown. or
Yeah,
something
it's
like that.
it lasts for 2 minutes and it's a 3-minute cooldown.
Yeah,
So it's you can have 2/3 uptime in a
Yeah.
game with it. And it's pretty
I think
insane.
I think it's S tier. I think it's very good.
I don't think I can argue with that. I know.
Okay, next we
I know
have the
some people
ice
think differently,
blocks.
but
or ice barrier or whatever it's
yeah,
called.
the glaciers.
Yep.
I mean, it's like B maybe.
It's good. Yep, a B I think because it gives you.
I mean, you
meter
could drop it
points.
on. Right, gives you
You can drop
LPs.
it
You
on
can drop it on
mines.
money. Drop it on mines. Yeah.
Drop it on your nodes. They can't take the nodes for that point
It's
in
actually
time.
decent late game because they like freeze whenever they blow up.
Yeah.
So you just drop it on a late game army, like, and they insta kill it and they all freeze. So it's like decent there as well. But it's not like game changing, right?
Yeah, it's mostly gonna be your first point. I mean, sometimes you can take mines over it, but I think it's better than mines for
I don't
sure.
mind. Yeah.
The cryo mines, that is. You can always go back for mines on like third point.
That's what I've been liking. Third point or the mines, or I mean, depending on map, you can get them first, right? I mean, it's weird. Like if you could trap like their chopper on like a top up there on bedrock per se, then I guess you could go mines. But
yeah,
I think ice blocks is generally the preferred point.
Yeah, doing that on bedrock though, like sometimes they'll see that and then just drive over the mines before they arm, and they just get away, and you just wasted mines, and
then you wasted, and then you can't upgrade your gen, and it's like it's a gamble, right? You know, it's. But with the blocks, they're only like 30 powers, so can't really.
Yeah.
Not really a gamble there.
Next
I think they're decent.
Odst Assault pack. This
is weird ability.
One of the more mediocre drops.
I think it's weird because I think first point it's like kind of bad, but second point it's pretty good. I mean,
I think so as well. I've actually kind of I used to hate it, but I like going for it fourth and then upgrading it fifth, which kind of sounds insane because you'd think you need Cata fifth, but I don't know. You don't have the goo necessary.
Right. Sometimes you don't. Right.
And just having a blister back drop. Like that's good. Blisterbacks are OP, but it's not vet is the thing.
I was gonna say, if it's vet, I think you can make a more convincing argument to put this into like
A tier.
Yeah, but I think without vet, I think it's like a B. Yeah.
Because it's a good way of spreading goo. You get the goo that it puts down, then you have the engineers who can also shoot goo.
That's right, yeah. You get the NG.
But then you upgrade it, and... you still get the NG with the upgrade.
You still get the NG, yeah. You still do, yeah.
And then you get the Wraith and the Blisterback, but they're not vet, so that sucks.
Yeah. If they're vet, I think it's better, but I think B tier is fine for it.
Yeah. Okay, Cryo Bomb. I think I'm just going to put that with Seismic Blast in D. Because of the fact that you need 4 points.
But split into 2 different powers with 2 different cooldowns.
Yeah.
I hate that. It's terrible.
Just kind of a bad concept there.
Yeah. I mean, it's really really annoying late game, but...
Yeah, late game
at that point,
but yeah.
You know, you're gonna have a lot more ways to deal with nukes that late in the game versus a third or fourth point, like good nuke, right? Because it's not even a good nuke at fourth point.
Yeah,
it's like it's pretty piss poor.
What do we think about Living Barrier?
Unironically, like, not bad, but like
also bad.
Also bad at the same time. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Like this is a hard one because I've seen a lot of games like where it's like kind of lower unit counts and like not a lot of base damage really on the field, like later in the game, just kind of like trade games going on where it's like it does kind of cut off units and it does kind of create picks and whatnot. And you can use it late for that same reason as well, even if it's not like a trading game. Like
Yeah, I think it's mostly good on like Bedrock, where you
right,
can
if
like
Bedrock or
go push
like
one
Fissures
base
too.
and then
Yeah,
and then go push the other, and then you block them into there.
right.
But I think it's probably a D, because it does have its uses, but it's like first point, and you're never gonna get it
Yeah,
that early.
and you never get that first. No, you
And
never.
then the only time you go back for it is super late, because there's so
Okay,
many
no.
other.
You know what? I changed my mind. This is a really OP troll point. When you're
Yeah,
playing
this is OP
teams,
troll.
you can wall off your teammate's base, and they have to path around it every time they make a new unit. No, this is
Another
broken. This is
use for it is you'd put it next to their power early on, and if they have a grunt, you'll never be able to collect
true.
your
Yeah,
power.
you throw it on nodes. They can never cap.
They won't
nodes.
take the nodes, they won't take the power, they won't listen to you, they'll just shoot at the living barrier. The thing is, that's funny to do, and it's frustrating to play against, but it's not half as good as Skitterers, so.
No, it's not. Like in a world where skits didn't exist, like say like skits and symbiotes were switched, then
Yeah.
you could probably go wall. But yeah, the D tier is fine. It's situational, has its uses. Like you're not gonna get it at the point when it's designed to be, grabbed right.
Yeah.
And
And even late game, you have to dump 2 points into it for it to really do anything, because otherwise they're just gonna mow it down.
right. Does it give vet still? Do you know?
I
Or
have
not
no
like,
idea.
because I know at a point it used to give units vet, but I don't remember if it does anymore.
Well, do we think
Either way, yeah.
Methane Wagon is A?
If it's not like S, it's a high A for me personally.
Because
I
they're
think-
expensive, but I mean they're well worth it. 20%
I think they're very well worth it.
buff,
It's-
20% debuff, literally a 40% swing in combat efficiency.
Right. And it scales like crazy. It's not like these things are bad late game either. It's
Yeah.
These things
Literally-
are good at literally every stage of the game.
Yeah,
So,
Yap's like best composition is Methane Locust,
right.
because it's just insane.
It's crazy DPS. Solid kiting. It's never gonna die because you have 2 shield gens and 3 Yap Ys, and please don't
Yeah.
shoot me. And
You literally beat Flamers with heavy grunts because of them.
yeah.
Like, they literally overcome their counter. That's pretty
Right.
balanced.
Right.
I think the only thing holding it back from S is you also get one in the drop, so you don't really need to get the point.
I was about to say, I
And
think
then-
you get it from the drop, and then
And they're just expensive.
they're what, like 120, 100 power,
Yeah, 120
something like
power.
that. Yeah, it's pretty expensive, but and then yeah, you do get one from the drop. So if you keep those alive, then
And it's vet.
Yeah,
as
you
well
technically
in the
don't need-
drop.
that's right.
And if
yeah,
you
it gets
upgrade the
vet
drop,
one.
you get 2 of them.
You get 2. Are they both vet 2 when you upgrade, or is it
I'm
just
not sure.
the
That drop
infantry
is
that gets
OP,
upgraded?
but
It is pretty OP. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, Methane Wagons, I'd
Um,
say high A.
Yeah.
For a not so good power, we have Advanced Cloaking. That's probably an F for me, I think.
It's probably that's probably down there with the with remote sensors.
And Guilt Trip. It's like,
Yeah.
it has a little bit more of a use, because,
If
hey, maybe...
if detect wasn't so prevalent, I think it has a use. But
Yeah, but also,
You're-
on top of that, I've gone Cloaked Marauders, and I was in a situation where I was like, yeah, they have no detect, I'm going to destroy them. And I activate the cloak, and then like 5 seconds later, the cloak goes back off. Like, the duration is so tiny.
Yeah, the Cloaked Marauders are
Not
not the play. I don't know. I'm
great.
also a Marauder hater, so
I mean, they're good
I
for
don't know.
going quick
I
tech
think they're
3, but
right. That's
it's just detect is everywhere. The duration is
right.
low. Maybe if you get level 2, it's different, but you're not going to get level 2 because you need spirit support, and then you need
I mean,
displace.
like every unit in the game that has detect is like A or S tier. Like Gale's Edgies, Ranger Snipes, the Scouts.
Except wolves.
But yeah,
Wolves
except
are
for
pretty
Wolves. Right, Wolves are not amazing. But every other one basically in the game is like S tier or A tier, arguably. So they're gonna
Yeah.
be in your games. So you almost never get value from
Yeah.
any sort of cloak enhancements.
Okay. How about Battle Hardened? I think that's like a D. There are some meme builds where you can go
Yeah,
like,
unless you're like Exo kabooming it up, I don't see
yeah.
it I don't see you getting a whole lot of value. Especially not on Cutter. Why does Cutter get 2 battle hard? Well,
Yeah, it's pretty weird.
I guess if it was like Vet wasn't bugged, it would make sense. But
Yeah. You can do
um,
Spartan into Condor. It's pretty OP.
so the Armory first, kill all the
All the Sentinels. Yeah.
Get Vet 2 before you see an enemy unit.
I used to do that sometimes as like a meme. I would go Army
It's
second
funny.
and then just kill all the Sentinels with Battle Hardened.
Yeah, it's funny, especially now because the Tech 2 upgrade is useful against
Better,
infantry.
yeah.
So yeah,
But definitely far, far inferior to Raid. So
yeah,
And
definitely.
then obviously with Colony, far inferior to just about anything else.
Yeah, Colony you get a bit more use out of it because again you can turtle and you're generally not moving as much as Cutter's gonna be moving. But
Yeah.
yeah,
think
it's a pretty solid D tier. I agree with.
The dichotomy with Colony is pretty funny because it seems like we've got Symbiotes and Battle Hardened and Living Barrier in D, and then everything else is in like S for him. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
All
It's,
right. How about Pavium's Stand? I think it has its place.
I think
Vultures.
it's like, where did we put full salvage?
That was C.
Did we put that C? I think it can't go any lower than that, and I don't think it really has a place any higher. Because I think it does the exact same thing that full salvage does, and it lets you base trade very well.
Yeah, I think it's
because I don't think it's a good turtling power unless you're fighting full pop vultures, right? But
yeah,
in a traditional turtle, you're not gonna have little 10-second engagements. It's gonna be long duration fights. I don't think that's worth it really at all.
Yeah, they'll just stop targeting your base and start targeting your units, and it's like, oh, well. There's the thing you can do with the Ultra Mines, but I really don't. The thing about Pavium that I keep bringing up is that Pavium past Lich is so bad. So if the leader power is not useful before Lich, then it's just bad.
Right. Yeah, it's. I mean, again, they designed the leader to be defensive, to be a very defensive leader, but
yeah, it's like you can't lose, but you can't win.
It's just bad design.
Yeah.
Because yes, he is very incredibly good at turtling and being defensive, yes. But you have like 2 powers that can be used offensively.
Yeah, and Lich late game just dies instantly.
The Lich is worse than close air support late game. Like that's how. Honestly, like it's just. It's terrible. Like you have to use it on 5th point and win with that, or and then it just gets worse every use afterwards.
Yeah, you either win with it, you put them very behind with it, and then win, or you die. Or you just turtle the rest of the game until they
Right.
resign. Or they're Arbiter and they break it after an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah. How about Shade Turret Drop?
Man,
You're thinking that's maybe
you
a
go back
B,
you go back a patch, and this is the best
S
LP at the
tier.
game.
Yeah. Hey, how about we
Stunning.
give them 4 stuns on third point
4
with
studs.
OP Mine that has the radius the size of the Empire State Building? That sounds like a good idea, right?
And people said Yap would be bad after they got removed.
Liam White.
Oh man. Yeah, nowadays I mean
It gives
these
you-
situations you go in, right? So
Yeah, it gives you leader
it can't
point
be any
progression.
worse than like C.
I think you can also
I
get
think
it to
B
shoot
is
at
fine.
buildings. Yeah, I think it's
Right.
a B.
I think it's kind of like other turret drops, except instead of a stud, it's like LP progression, and
Yeah,
it
also it's good for
kind of gets in
zoning.
the way of their units and stuff. So you kind of put it in a few places at once to just get like
Kind of like a
more
better
spread
arc
out
defense.
damage. Right. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like I think that's pretty comparable. It's like an arc defense, but
And
a
put
bit
it
better.
in multiple spots. And it's
Right.
less expensive, doesn't cost 200 yellow.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think B is fine.
So I think this is one of the best 5th points. Firestorm Battle Group.
Yeah, this is
2
maybe the
Vet,
second
2
best
Hornets. I think a
Right.
Vet tank. And then 2
a Vet 2 tank. It's a Vet 2 tank.
Vet 2
And then-
Flamers.
2 Vet 3 flamers.
3?
It's actually, yeah, they're actually pretty nuts. It's a pretty nuts drop.
And
like,
all
I
that
think
with
this might
Heat
be
of
the
Battle
second
and Hell
best.
Charge. And it gives
And Hell
everything
Charge,
you
yeah.
drop on it Hell Charge as well.
And you
It
combo
might-
it with
I-
the leader if they don't have like escapes to deal a bunch of damage to their army.
Yeah, I
So,
think it's S.
I agree. I think this drop is pretty sick. Arguably the second best. It's up there for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very solid. Very, very solid.
I remember I had this game with Abu Mosh that like my computer at the time wasn't working and I went back to Xbox
Oh boy.
and I played him on Vault. He was freaking out. He was streaming at the time. He could not kill the Hornets and he was screaming about it. He could not kill the Vet 2 Hornets. Kill the Hornet!
Dude, those things are menaces though. Like
Yeah.
like
They don't really care about anything.
like imagine it like you have like a really long game and you stack up like 2 or 3 drops of those. You just have 6 Vet 2 Hornets flying around.
Yeah, and then you get Wingmen. Oh.
Yeah.
And then you have Redline and Heat of Battle and use Hell Charge on them. That would be pretty great.
And that tank does crazy work too. I think the only situation that tank is bad is when you're fighting a Spartan
Yeah.
character. Because then they use it on you. But
Yeah.
yeah, aside from that thing puts in crazy work.
I think Displacement is another S.
Easy as.
It's just kind of
And
another broken concept, leader power.
yeah, there's quite literally like 0 counterplay to it outside of like Omega pre-splitting, but you have to pre-split your armies so much
Yeah.
because the radius is so big that it just
You can teleport back,
not realistic.
but unless you have teleport 2, you probably can't teleport all the way back. If you
Right.
burn teleport, you can get displaced beamed in a corner.
Yep.
And chances are you probably don't have teleport or something like that.
Right.
It's
Right. Because he usually gets
Struggle.
it, what, like What do you say, like 5th point he usually gets
Fifth
displaced?
point,
5th,
yeah.
6th point? Yeah.
I think the only leader
So-
that typically gets teleport before that is like Trox, 4th, because you want to
Trox,
keep
maybe
your hero alive.
Colony.
Colony, yeah. That's about it.
I guess another shippy, you go extract or teleport there, right?
Yeah, you go
But-
extract, yeah.
Yeah.
But that doesn't help you against a displace that just puts you out of position. That would only save
Right.
you from a displaced beam.
From a displaced beam, exactly. Yeah, really, really stupid point.
You can just teleport in with Locust, displace them.
You can't even
They
really
come back,
like
and then you just extract.
Pelly back because Pelly takes so long
Yeah,
to pick everything up that by the time you're back, they've already almost killed your base. If they like Pelly in with like a Locust and displace your army.
yeah, and it's literally like 500 power, and it's 4th point
Right.
too. People get it 5th, but that's because spirit support. But it's 4th
Right.
point. So you could probably
Yeah,
do some
it's,
funny like teleport first, dark skies displacement 4th days. I'd imagine.
Can you imagine, dude? That would be funny.
Yeah. It's too bad people don't play ship like that. That would be hilarious to watch.
Yeah, that's that's why I like when Shippy's not like meta, is because that's when people get like creative with him and shit.
Yeah.
And now he's like, oh yeah, and I built my hero, or I built ghosts, and now I'm gonna make counter ball.
And then I'm going to
Contact
use my
two.
drop. And then I'm going
And
to
now I have Locust because I don't need to make as many counter units as you because I have the drop, so I can just push you and kill you.
Yep. And I also
Every
have OP
game.
grunts.
Dude, dude, those grunts, bro. Oh my god. Elite grunts are like... The
Not
more I
very
use
fair.
them, the more I'm like, these might be the best, like, one of the best units in the entire game. Even
Yeah.
if they're only, like, broken for one stage, they're that broken.
How about
It's insane.
Bunker? Another Johnson leader power.
Another Johnny power. The make or break for
I
Johnny.
think it's like a C.
I was gonna say, like, on a good day, it's a low B.
Yeah.
on
On a bad day,
a bad
it's
day,
like a D.
it's F. On a bad day, it's F, bro. That thing insta dies on a bad day, but
It can get
like-
mined. It can get stunned with a Sui. You can use it and they just leave. They can just shoot at it,
Yeah.
and kill it.
to build on that Sui point, if you like micro that Sui right, so you run one member in because there's 4 members in a group, so you run it in, blow up one member, and then run it in after they're like de-stunned. You can stun it for 20 seconds.
Wow.
You spend 80-40 to negate not just the bunker itself, but like the units inside will not shoot,
Yeah.
and if they try to get out, they will still be stunned for 20 seconds if you micro it right. It's
Man, Bunker
it's
is
just
not,
stupid.
not very good.
Yeah.
Like, there's some clever
Um,
things you can do with it, like on Bedrock, putting it between the nodes and putting a sniper in it so that it covers both nodes. But, I mean,
Right.
that doesn't do anything that a sniper up on the high ground couldn't do. It just gives it a little
Exactly.
bit more protection for, like, 300
Right.
blue.
It gives you protection if you're not like watching them at all, which you should be watching them because they're snipers.
Yeah.
And I guess you could kind of use it for like harassing, you know, like you send a couple Marines to harass a mini, and they send
Yeah.
like Rangers back to go deal with them. You drop a bunker there and put them in there. Could
My
technically
meme
do, I
build
guess, but it's
is-
like
Dispersion bunkers with a digging in 2 so that I have the
yeah,
OP
they
siege
just come
turret
back
drop.
all the time. The OP siege turret.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
600 cost siege turret that takes 4 shots to kill a sniper.
Yep. I jokingly once said that Mike Beeston once told me that Johnson is the optimal pick on Frontier because of his 4th point siege turret drop, and when I asked him why, he told me I'm stupid if I don't siege. It's like a better Kodiak Drop. It doesn't have vet, you get one of them, and it explodes after a couple seconds.
Yeah. Dude, they're not gonna have base damage. They can't just dive it with hunters.
Yeah. Alright. Boundless
man.
Fury, I think, is probably an A.
I was gonna say this is probably like a decent A, you know, not like crazy.
Yeah.
What is it? It's 10% damage, 5% movement speed, or is it flipped?
I don't know, but it sounds good either way.
Either way, it's, you know,
It's just
permanent.
another button
It
that
affects
you
everything.
click that you
Right.
don't have to do anything, but it greatly improves your combat efficiency.
Right.
It's just nice to have.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's there, you know, it's a passive, right? It's
And
a
sometimes
solid
you
passive,
might want to
you know?
go teleport before it, but typically it's like always your 6th point.
Yeah.
If you can't afford Desi Drop, you can get it 5th, but really you want Desi Drop because he's OP.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Phantoms.
Ooh.
It's another weird one.
I
OP
am a
late.
Phantoms stan because I think there's situations where they can be really good third, but generally you build them like later in the
Late.
game, yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is, once you do get into Phantoms, they're like unstoppable.
Right.
And they're hard to like micro because you always have to make sure you're getting the right stuff in them, and then you'll get your RB hero in one of them and you don't know which one he's in, and you just... But if you do it right, I think it's like an S.
Yeah, I think I could agree with S. I think they're pretty solid. I mean, especially late game. Like once you get to uber late game, end game, excuse me, that's when they're like generally gone into because that's when you just have so many conduit procs
I mean,
and
yeah, you
stasises
can
and whatnot.
just like 2 base turtle and then get up a Phantom army and then win.
Right.
It's that easy.
And then I think there are situations you go that like say like Bedrock against a UNSC, theoretically you could go them, and they're not terrible because you just
They're
fly
good into
them around on the
Vulture.
ledges.
They're even good into
vultures,
Wolf. They're just not good
Yep.
into Marine.
Right.
But I mean, RB hero will shred Marines.
RB Hero is the reason that they're good because RB Hero will like
Kill
never
everything on the
die.
ground. Yeah.
RB Hero never dies normally, and then you have to build a bunch of AA to deal with Phantoms, and then he really never dies.
Yeah. Alright.
But yeah,
Plasma Mines.
Plasma Minds. I think
like B or A? I'm leaning more B.
I think they're pretty. I think they're like a low A, high B. I think they're like
because
you can
like,
never go wrong with them. I don't think that's the thing.
When you
like,
go countermeasures in Plasma Mines, they feel like A because you've got so many stuns to combo them with. But when you're not going Jump Pack Brute, you don't really have any stuns with them.
I think it's map dependent as well because I think even if you don't go CM, if it's a map like say for some reason you play Trox on Bedrock or another choke pointy map,
yeah,
it does give you like another. It does give you room for your chosen to kind of play
around them.
You know, right?
Yeah,
because that's the whole game with Trox, right? Is you're playing through the chosen. Basically, it's an MMO.
Yeah,
and so
you're going Burke mode.
You know,
going playing Smite.
Right. So, you know, by protecting, you know, that chosen, you know, the mines are just another tool to help you with that. If you're not gonna combo them with JPBs, so I don't think they're terrible. Like
Yeah,
even when you don't have JPBs. So I think like a low A.
Yeah, also
I'm
the
leaning
plasma
towards.
they leave behind. If you stand in
Yeah,
that, you're gonna melt.
if you stare at that, you die. It's kind of insane. Yeah.
And the level
It's
2
like
are literally like as strong as Ultra Mines.
no level 2. I remember like I want to say maybe like a year and a half ago. Really random memory from a long time ago, but I was playing Jetty on ladder,
Yeah.
and he had 4 raids, like hitting a base or something.
Oh, I remember that clip, I think.
I randomly dropped level 2 plasma mines on 4 raids, and they went off and they insta killed all 4 because they were grouped up.
Yeah,
It was
didn't you
pretty
make a
insane.
clip of
like
that?
I believe so. I don't remember. It was a long time ago.
I feel like
but-
I saw that or something
Yeah.
like that. But yeah, they're
Yeah.
pretty insane.
Yeah, but you're never gonna go those because Trox has a bunch of other good points to go.
Yeah. Okay, how about Active Siphon? I think
I've
it's
been
A
I've
or
been
B.
liking it recently. Yeah, I think it's kind of I don't know, it's weird. I go back and forth on it, but recently I've been liking it. Especially in like ranger duels and whatnot, right?
Yeah, but with Ranger Duels, Killing Frenzy is so good. Is the thing.
Yeah. Trying to think what the scenario was where I went and it felt really good.
I mean, if you're spamming.
Okay, so
thrusts-
this sounds kind of troll. This is kind of troll, but I kind of like it versus Pavium because if you go and I'm talking like third point, because with Pavium, you're gonna go for a beam, right? And he's gonna drop rate of fire on you, like most of the time, right?
Yeah.
And so you can kind of just fight him with Siphon. You kind of just you don't have to
Yeah.
rely on that beam. You kind of just outkill his units.
But
when
there are
you go
definitely
to active
moments
Siphon.
where when I do skip beam, I'll like really miss it. I'll be like,
Yeah.
oh, look at how clumped up he is. Imagine if I
No,
had
for
beam.
sure.
Yeah.
It's pretty situational, but I've been liking it, and it's definitely not bad because it's basically just a resto, like healing drones for
Yeah,
your.
but you can't use it on buildings.
Yeah, so
I don't
I'd say
know.
like B.
Yeah.
I'd say like a high B. I'd say.
B, I think
I
is
don't think
fair.
it's bad, but it's not like amazing per se.
Okay, this next one's pretty easy. Cataclysm,
It's
S tier.
S tier, dude. That
Just
thing.
kind of wipe everything.
Remember when we thought it didn't scale into late game at all?
I mean, I think there is still an argument there because so many leaders have heals and some of them have heavy metal, but really all you need is a heal. And there are also ways of circumventing it with like teleport, but if you get it on 5th point and you do it well, you literally just wipe them. And then you can build a Scarab and Cataclysm, and it's pretty much inescapable.
Right. I think it's still fine late, to be honest, because I think was it with Gutex? It kind of has the Grenadier effect where it spikes it, not to like the same extent, but it does spike the damage a lot.
Yeah.
Because it's reapplying it right all the time, and then it can be avoidable, but I do think like
Yeah, if you
at the end of the
have
day,
a bad
it's still
Cataclysm, that's your fault, not Cataclysm's fault.
yeah. I think that's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Alright. Time for Heroes. I think is a pretty strong 2nd point.
I
Do you
think
know the
this is
numbers
a solid A, because I think. Oh, is my mic cutting out? No,
I think
we're
you're
good.
fine.
Yeah, that was weird. Sorry.
Have you ever
Yeah, I
seen
think it's a pretty solid A, to be
A
honest.
Time for Heroes Jackrabbit. Those things are so
Dude,
fast.
they cross the map in like 5 seconds.
Yeah. Like, it's so funny whenever there's like a chopper chasing your jackrabbit, and then you get time for heroes, and it's like, see you later.
Yep.
You just
Got a
zoom away, and they
blast.
cannot
He's
catch
gone.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's
I
pretty
think this
good.
is a solid A because yeah, Tech 1, it's gonna be good. What is it? I think it's 8% armor, 8% damage, 15% move speed or something like that. Like it's basically a unit like a vehicle or an infantry level,
Yeah.
and then they're faster.
Mm-hmm.
And then even in the Tech 2, I think it's good as well because
Whenever you dip below 40 population.
right, say you're going like Time for Heroes hogs are actually pretty insane.
Yeah.
So you will never catch those things if they're using them right, and they're gonna leave mines. They're gonna leave victory mines everywhere too, which are actually really really good. And they're gonna be able to threaten your base if they go trash drop. They can threaten sheds and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I'd say like a solid A.
I think A is a good spot. I think A is probably also a good spot for ODST drop. You get the stun, you can do the combo with the Spartan Slam, make them sit in the sack
Yeah.
charges. You can use the
I'd say
charges
like
on a gen.
like a high A for sure. I think this is arguably one of the better points of the game, like third points of the game,
Third
but
point, yeah.
it's not like broken, especially because it doesn't scale amazing into the late game, right?
Yeah,
like it's still gonna be
there's
decent, right? But it's not
some
gonna
other
compare
points that
to
can rival it, like Scatter Bomb.
right. But yeah, on that third point, power spike, it is one of the better points, and for sure it's very versatile and whatnot. So I agree with an A, like a high A. I think that's where some right put it.
How about the victory turret? I think because you get 2 of them, I kind of listed this differently as the turret drop.
Yeah,
I think it's pretty good. Like
I agree.
stuns.
I used to be a Vic turret hater, but recently, I've been trying out what XCA has been saying, where you go victory turret 4th, 5th. If you don't want to get Omega Team, or you don't have the money to get Omega Team, and you use it for base damage or for stuns and whatnot, and it feels good, man. It feels good. Like it's 2 stuns that they're gonna do. They actually do really good base damage. It's if you target a base with them for the full duration with both of them with Victory Turret 2, they will almost kill a 5-pad base. They get it to like 1 or 2% HP.
Huh.
It's kind of insane. Yeah,
Wow.
it's pretty insane.
I mean, I guess the only issue with that is not getting Spartan morale, which I feel like is really good. Especially against,
I think it's good as well,
like a beam
but
eater.
right. I think there's situations where you go Spartan morale because excuse me, I also think Spartan morale is kind of broken. Not like it's like underrated is the word I'll use because it's kind of like heavy metal and a damage boost at the same time, but you don't slow down, you get faster. So
yeah, I think it's like a high B.
I'd agree with that. I go with a low A, high B. I don't think it's
I don't think it's
it
as
feels
good, like,
but I don't think it's like broken or like even like super crazy strong per se.
Yeah, it's not like Methane Wagon, Lich,
Agreed.
You know, Ghost in the Machine levels, but it's still pretty good.
Yeah.
Okay, Cryo Drop. I think it's one of the better drops because you get 2 tanks.
You get 2 tanks.
The shitty part is you get the Cryo Troopers, which
I was about to say, I think this is the reason why I value Cansanos over this is because you get the Vet 3 Flamers rather than the Vet 2 little ice guys.
Yeah.
And
so
then
maybe like A.
I'd say A, and then you have to consider like say you were to pit these two drops against each other, right?
Yeah.
You know, flavors are gonna beat the cryos. The two
Hornets are gonna beat the
Scorps
tanks.
are nice, but you get 2 Scorps, and then you have the Frost Raven, the little spitty thing that doesn't even benefit from vet because the freeze rate doesn't increase with vet. It's just gonna be slightly tankier. So,
Yeah.
I will say that the cool thing about that is that
It shatters.
because it detonates, because it detonates the ice, you can kind of use it as a pseudo, nuke, and then have it as a drop as well. But and it's definitely good. Like, don't get me wrong, it is 2 tanks and a drop basically. It could literally just be the 2 tanks and it would be decent.
Yeah.
Might
be better honestly, because then it would be way more affordable.
Right.
And honestly, those cryo troopers are not.
They're just not it, bro.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think A tier is pretty fair.
Ooh, bro,
Yeah.
no fucking way you guys are still talking about leader powers.
Yeah,
Holy
it takes a long time.
Which one are we on?
Heavy metal is next.
Damn, C tier? Wait, B?
I
B?
think
I mean
it's-
B?
Yeah, I think it's probably a B.
I was gonna say B. Yeah,
B
it's,
tier.
I mean, you need heal with it, but once you have heal heavy metal, you can just
Yeah,
set a
but
nuke
that's just
and be
solid.
fine.
That shit's OP.
Cheap,
think it's solid.
reliable.
yeah, it's cheap. You know.
The
That shit
only
eats a
issue
leader
is that
power.
you have to bunch up to use it, so you can get displaced or ghost in the machine or
Yeah, you can
whatever.
kind of get Nightingale smoked too out of
Yeah.
it. I've been Nightingale smoking a lot of heavy metal restos, and it's just
Yeah, B tier. Alright, next leader power.
Spartan morale. Kind of like the same idea. You make your guys
same idea, but
Spartan morale's
I think
good.
better
Spartan morale's good.
in like every way. Almost.
Yeah.
think-
Is it
I
B
think
or
maybe
A?
an A tier. I think A tier to be honest, because it makes you hella fast, so you don't have to sit in one spot, and it gives you a damage boost, and you can still use it like a heavy metal heal, where you can just sit in the heal
it's
as
not
well.
as
So
good in
I got
that
Spartan
realm,
morale in
but
real life the other day.
What is that supposed to mean?
Just,
you know,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
How
You know
about,
Jerome's a higher rank than Master Chief?
Is he?
Crazy. He's commander. He's commissioned. Chief's enlisted.
How about Hell Charge? I think Hell Charge is pretty OP.
I'd say like,
Hell Charge fucking sucks. Fuck Hell
No,
Charge.
What do you mean?
well, they buffed it since he last played.
Again?
You missed the Hell Charge meta, Mike?
You missed the 2-week really broken L charge meta.
Oh no, I was there for that. That shit was stupid.
Well, it's still good.
I remember that.
It's still
I
good.
remember that.
It's
They
still
never
pretty
fixed
good.
it?
Like,
they never
if you-
nerfed the explosion damage. Well, they technically did by like 100, which doesn't do anything, right?
Yeah. If you go Jackrabbit, sometimes it's worth it getting Hell Charge, especially in Scout Mirrors, because you just
Yeah.
kamikaze them to them, and you
I
destroy
remembered it not being that bad in ones, but I remember like when it first happened, in twos, Almirante and B Safe would always search, and it'd be like double Kansana, and then just like
Yeah, you
blow
could
up.
go like
That shit was really stupid.
Cansado Vori or Cansado Arby.
And B Safe would
run
just
at
be
them.
like, yeah, I don't even know why you're searching Mighty. I don't really know like why you think you'd have a chance of winning. Like, get lost, kid. I'll just be like, oh damn, these guys are really
Right.
good.
So,
Nice.
what are we thinking? A, B?
I think A. Because again, you have to dump a bunch of points into it for it to
I don't
really
know.
be.
B
I
tier.
think it's a little
B tier.
bit more niche. I do think it's more B.
High B.
I was gonna say like a
Because-
low A. Because again, you have to
Because
dump
it's not like
2
every
plus
time.
points into it, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're not going
It's
to get Hell
awkward.
Charge early every time. It's more like
Right.
You just want to kamikaze a bunch of jackrabbits, because otherwise, if you're using it on slower units, they can just run away or
Yeah.
split their guys.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting near the end. We've got Enduring Will. I think it's pretty good.
I think it's solid.
I think it's pretty mandatory if you're playing Pav, because without Enduring Will, Lich dies to 2 upgraded turrets.
That's for sure. Yeah.
I mean, it sucks because instead of doing a lot of healing quickly, it does it slowly over a long duration, which can be good and bad at the same time.
Oh,
Like,
Enduring Will? Enduring Will is good.
It's not great for saving your base because of that, but it's good if you're like using it.
It is.
I mean,
It's
if
good for your base.
It's almost kind of like.
Pinch,
It's almost
It's
kind
not
of
good.
like.
Oh, in a pinch, you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Well, that's the player's fault. That's not the leader power's fault.
what if it's on cooldown?
If it's on cooldown, well, then I mean, you probably suck if you need to use your heal every 5 fucking seconds.
Well,
I think it's pretty good though for like, especially when
Based.
you're talking about like Goliath drops and shit like that, and it's a longer, slower heal.
It will not
Like,
save your
it
gem
saves-
from a Goliath drop.
On God, it will.
No, it won't.
Yeah,
It'll buy you like a couple
God, it
seconds
will.
of time.
It'll buy you like a few seconds.
It'll buy you more
yeah.
time, and then turrets kill it
Yeah,
or some
like
shit.
2 seconds, 2 or 3 seconds of time.
Oh yeah, okay. You
It's
did the
not-
math.
it's not
you did the
that-
math, Metaloid Monkey.
I did the calculation. I think it's probably a B.
It's like B, yeah. It's a
I think
decent
it's
B tier.
mandatory with Pav, but the thing is with Pav, most of his leader powers just aren't that great.
Yeah. I think that's fair.
Okay. Eradication is like such a hit and miss kind of leader power.
I was about to say, this is either OP or
It's
like
like S tier or D
pretty
tier.
useless. Yeah.
It's either you wipe their entire army.
I think
you
one base to
missed.
one base, it's pretty solid. Because then you could just run up and strip their base.
Yeah.
I think.
It's super inconsistent though, even if you use it on a base.
I think that's the thing is dude, it even bugs out too sometimes and it just doesn't do damage.
I've
It's
definitely
really
thrown
like
games where I'll go and push someone's main and ear at it, and then it doesn't kill any pads, and then they fight
Yeah.
my army off, and I just wasted 1,000, and I can't fight their
Yeah.
army because of it. But there are times where it wins you the game.
right. So I mean it's either S tier.
I just think of
or
that
it's-
clip of that dumb rat guy Liam sitting in the E-Rad. Liam.
Liam.
Maybe. Are we?
I was gonna
thinking-
say, I mean, if it's either S tier or F tier, we just cut down the middle and put it in B, because
Yeah, I guess that's a good middle ground for it.
I think you're right. It's
Right,
completely
this
hit
should
or
C
miss. It's never you're never gonna have a like okay or solid.
Dude, that
ERAD.
shit's C tier as fuck.
You're either gonna wipe them or
No,
you're
it's
gonna
not C tier.
do
Yeah,
that.
it is, bro. You drop a 1,000 leader power and then they like teleport out of it.
No,
Oh, good.
most of the time you're going to be using it on a base, though.
Yeah. Well, I'm not gonna
Sucks
use
on
it if they
bases.
ever have teleport.
Where'd you put? Okay, what tier are you trying to put it in?
B,
B.
And where'd you put Inferno?
A.
Shut the fuck up, C tier.
Wait, hold on. Let me check this. Did I put? Oh no, Inferno's also in B.
Yeah, no. So you gotta put in C.
No, I don't.
I mean, they kind of do the same.
It's
What?
more expensive,
E-Rad's.
but it's
It's
better.
a more
against an
expensive,
army.
worse.
It's not worse. How
No,
is it
it's
worse?
not. How is it better against an army? Inferno drops instantly. E-Rad has a whole fucking 10-minute
Yeah,
telegraph.
but it will do more damage
walk out of
when
it.
you hit it.
Inferno's like
Does it really
damage.
though?
Yes,
Does it really?
absolutely.
Inferno doesn't do a
does
lot of
not
damage.
do
No,
damage.
bro. Inferno's fire. Inferno's literally fire.
Yeah, it is
Napalm to the
fire, but
ground.
like here
He
has
rides
like
a
10
stupid
plasma
light.
beams.
Plasma.
I think-
A fucking plasma.
We're-
I don't know anything about alien technology.
We're putting it
shut
B.
the fuck
Move
up.
on to the next one.
Yeah. Just gonna leave him be. Enforcer Drop, I think, is S tier.
Oh, yeah, S tier. Dumb.
Yikes.
Just do-
S?
Just dumb. Just dumb. Just dumb.
S.
That's
Yeah.
S.
There's
one word, dumb.
literally 3 Arbiter's Champion Enforcers buffed by whatever conduit level you have that you can just drop in.
And then you use it with the hero. So
The hero.
You don't have
shoot
to.
the
You
hero.
don't have to
Shoot at
explain the leader power to me.
Yeah.
Like I played this game.
Yeah, and it's
I know exactly
stupid.
what it does. I mean, it's A tier though.
No.
S.
I think it's
tier,
S.
bro.
It comes back so fast. So fast. Like, tell me what the downside is. There's no downside. It's cheap, comes back fast, extremely effective, strips a base so fast. Like, the counterplay
right.
is
Yeah, it's a
ridiculous.
I don't know why it didn't sound S tier to me. Yeah, that shit's S tier. And we put Goliath Drop in S tier. Yeah, that shit's
Yeah, we
definitely S
did.
tier.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
4th point, but it's way better than Goliath Drop, really.
Dude,
Because you also have the
old.
Y abilities,
old Enforcer drop, bro.
3rd point Enforcer Drop.
3rd point for Enforcer. Better conduit. Remember, conduit 1 was 30% back then.
And balanced.
Oh my god.
Alright. Sentinel Beacon. This is the last one, actually, because
It's
I
the
put
last
field
one, huh?
promotion first. There's twice, so.
Ah.
Sentinel Beacon. Do we think that's
Um,
A, I think?
I'd say A.
It makes
I don't
your
think it's
siege broken.
nearly as broken as it used to be. Especially now that people are just better at the game. They're
Yeah.
better at dealing with it, you know?
You also kind of need
Yeah,
synergy
say
to
A.
make it better, but I think
Right.
it's totally worth it because it just makes your
And then
siege
some
so good.
manists kind of hard counter it, like Desi, you can just vet up a Scarab off of it, stuff like that.
Yeah,
Also
Sentinel
can vet
Beacon's
up a
S tier.
Scarab. So
it's not S tier.
That's just S tier, dude.
I think it's like
you
a
need
high
2
A.
leader points if you really want to dedicate to the siege. I think that keeps
Okay.
it from S tier. Also, Kodiaks are super expensive. Anders doesn't have accelerated assembly.
I think it's high A. I think it's still very good. And also still messes with unit targeting. Especially raids. Raids will just
Yeah.
shoot at the little sentinels forever instead of like being useful.
Yeah, but they can
Um,
also units can always vet off of the sentinels. That's another
Right.
thing keeping it from S.
Right. So yeah, not as broken as it used to be, but definitely still strong.
Yeah. All right. That took quite a while. Yeah, Ugly, you weren't even here for half of it.
I was gonna say that took a long time, and I was only here for 40 powers. So
I feel like we didn't go into this with the right mindset. We should all mash a bit and then redo the list.
What do you mean, not the right mindset?
I just think we're full of testosterone right now.
yeah, we need
Think-
post-nut clarity.
I don't know, because every time we talked about a leader power, I just got like a flashback of some time where that leader power pissed me the fuck off.
Well,
I didn't come into
we weren't all thinking.
I didn't come
that
into
way.
a non-bias. You weren't thinking that way, really?
We don't need to be
Really?
non-biased. We can be biased. We just need to justify our opinions well.
Mhm.
And I think this is a pretty
Or-
reasonable list.
This sucks.
I agree. All right, and now you need to do the unit tier list and put the mech robots in S tier.
In S tier because the mech robots are
Because
unstoppable.
you can't, they're uncounterable, and you can fly them across the map. And
You
kill
build full
everything.
pop hunters and they just fly over and they kill your base and you cry. the mech robots.
You can't
This
even
game's,
kill the
this
Pelly
game's
'cause
literally
it's
robots
air,
versus
bro.
aliens. It's actually a robot. It's literally Star Wars.
Star Wars. Halo Wars.
Halo, Star Wars.
Alright. So,
Alright.
if you sat through all this, thanks for watching. This has been the comprehensive Halo Wars 2 leader power tier list. We'll see how long this ended up being. Definitely over an hour.
Yeah.
But, yeah, hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.